All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on and what's going on? It is so good to be back in the house that y'all built, right? I've been out for a minute, but I'm so glad to be back behind the mic. We're gonna have a good night, and we got some. We're gonna have a good show today. We're gonna have a really good show today. Some of my guys are running late, which is okay, because we're gonna rock this thing out until they get here. But before I bring up my guys that are here tonight, I definitely want to bring up you guys who make this channel what it is. We hit 3,000 subscribers when I was in Jamaica. I want to thank Dr. Nkumbe. He had hit me up. I was completely out of the country, phone not doing anything. It was on airplane mode. And the first message I got was my brother sending me congratulations. That he said you're far. His message was you're far away from 3K. All right, and so he had bars, and I appreciate him for giving me that love. I also want to send a shout out to Mr. Bennett, who hosted the sports show this past Wednesday. He did a great job. Him and Hink hosted and co-hosted the sports show. They did an amazing job. So shout out to him and Mr. Bennett. He'll be here later on as well. And then last but not least, man, I want to shout out. Well, I want to shout out to the people that came on the panel. Take heed to the message. I mean, I can't even name everybody because I don't want to name everybody because I miss somebody. I don't want nobody to be mad at me. However, everybody who participated in my absence, I greatly appreciate you a lot. All right. Also, I would like to the man of the hour. Before I get to him, I also want to say that Dr. Nkumbe and Coach K keeping it going while I was not in town. Thank him and Coach K for all the hard work that they do. Shout out to the sports show. Shout out to the barbershop, the guys who came to the barbershop the past Friday that I wasn't here. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to Black David for being the tech head behind the scenes. Also, I want to thank AFT for actually being here, Alexis from Texas, for actually being here and learning our system here and learning how everything works. And she's controlling things even tonight. So I want to thank her for being here and giving her time and believing in the channel. So thank her as well. But I want to thank Lost in Translation. Lost in Translation, guys, if you have not subscribed to his channel, please go and subscribe to his channel. The man is coming with the fire. He's coming with the fire, smooth talking. Sweet Nasty is what his nickname is. We call him Sweet Nasty. And so Sweet Nasty, go over and subscribe to his channel. And he definitely got a word for you. And I appreciate him so much. Now I want to get to the chat because you guys make this possible. Corey Haga is in the house tonight. Thank you, Corey, for being here. I appreciate you, man. You look like Stephen King on this picture. I don't know if I want to Stephen King, Robert England, something going on right there. I don't know what's going on right there. We got Andre Terry in the building tonight. He says support the channel, drop a cash app. Thank you so much, Andre Terry, man. I appreciate you, brother. If you sent me one, I got to check it. So I'll check it in just a few seconds. Peter is in the building tonight. Peter, if you're still around, man, I will send me a message. If you have IG, send me a message on IG at Black Man Unfiltered, and I will send you the link, brother. I would love to have you up here tonight. Eugene Steele is in the building tonight. Eugene, thank you for being here tonight, my brother. All right, let's see who we got in here. We got Crystal in the building. Crystal Light is in the building tonight. She says, yes, she has become a huge supporter of this channel, always messaging me and saying she's binge watching all the shows from a year back because she enjoys this channel so much. So thank you so much, Crystal, for being here and being a contributor to this network. I appreciate you. Lost in Translation is in the building. I already said his name, but guys, please go subscribe to Lost in Translation, man. He is doing the work. All right, all this congratulations. Thank you so much. Crystal Light says, you've been missed 100. Thank you so much, Crystal. I am back and we're rocking it out tonight. I appreciate you for being here. All right, so I want to go ahead and bring up everybody that's in the back tonight so we can get this conversation started. Let's see. Peter said, brother, you have my email. It's going. Okay, I got you, brother. I'll email you right now. But yeah, so we have a conversation that we're going to talk about tonight. Should a man be vulnerable with a woman or stay quiet? Some things have happened over the last week that have thrown everybody for a huge loop. And it was really bad. About this man who is 50. We're going to talk about him tonight. The show is going to be about him and his vulnerability. 52 years old. In 2016, buried his father. He did not have a good relationship with his father. His father and his mother were not together. The man was very verbally and physically abusive to the young man, but he loved him in spite of. There's pictures of him hugging him and kissing him on the head. He stopped talking to his dad for a while, and his dad got cancer, and he got an anonymous call to come and see his father before he passed away. He went to see his father. He passed. And then 25 years late, I'm sorry, not 25. When he turned 52 years old, something extraordinary happened, and we're going to talk about it tonight. It's a touching story. So let's go ahead and get everybody up here that's here tonight. All right. The first person we're going to bring up tonight is I'm going to say, he's a father figure in these spaces. He's a married man. He's a proven that marriage is withstanding. It can stand the rain. It can stand the storms of life. It can stand ups and downs. A man who follows the vows and loves his wife in spite of, and vice versa. And I want to bring him up tonight and appreciate him. R. Payne is with us tonight. R. Payne, what's going on, my brother? All right. Now, the next person I want to bring up tonight, guys, you know him. You see him every Thursday night picking your brain. All right. He's picking your brain because he wants you to be better. He wants you to have a better life. He wants you to release the generational curses in your life. He wants you just to be mentally better overall. And you guys know him as Dr. Nkumbe. However, tonight, guys, we got to come up with him another name, because I think it's only fair that we do that. But until we come up with another name, I got to give him his intro. All right, my brother is in the building tonight. Dr. Nkumbe is in the building tonight, man. It's so good to see you. All right. Last but not least, come on. We got to give it up. All right. Lost in Translation is in the building tonight. Nasty Nice is in the building tonight. And we're going to bring him up. Nasty Nice, come on up to the floor.
Good evening, sir.
It's good to see you, man. Good to see you. I hope you like your new nickname, Nasty Nice, because
I thought it was Sweet Nasty.
Sweet Nasty. There you go. Sweet Nasty. There we're going to stick with Sweet Nasty.
I like that. Sweet Nasty.
All right. So I'm going to go back to the chat real quick. We got Dusto in the building tonight. All right. We got Ghost 521 in the building tonight. A woman will ultimately betray that vulnerability through temporary emotion. All right. We got Dr. Nkumbe in the house to answer some of these questions tonight. All right. So thank you guys again for being here. Eugene, Steele, if you're on, I would love to have you on tonight as well. Dr. Eugene Steele. So if you are available, sir, please send me a IG message and I will send you the link. Okay. All right. And then we got a couple more guys coming. I'm getting messages right now. Ding, ding, ding. Just getting, I'll be there in a minute. All right. There we go. So, guys, I was talking to offline today. I was talking to my brother here, Lost in Translation, Sweet Nasty. And we were talking about these young ladies who I work with who are not married. And they were having a conversation, as they do every Friday when we're wrapping up. They always bring up conversations or the news from the week or celebrity gossip, whatever. And today they were talking about marriage. And one of the young ladies said, I want to be married. I want a husband, but I want to be able to keep my life the way it is. And the other young lady said, well, what is that? She said, I want to be able to be free. I want to be able to go and do what I want to do, not answer to my husband. I want to be able to go to my husband and say, not say, hey, baby, can I go? I mean, baby, how do you feel about me going to Hawaii this week? She said, I want to be able to go to him and say, this week I'm going to Hawaii with my girls. And he understands it. He appreciates it. He respects her boundaries. and he allows her to do what it is that she wants to do and keep her happy. And she said, from a man's perspective, how do you feel about it? I told her that she would never be married. And if she did get married, she'd be married to a beta, because no man is going to just willingly let his wife go anywhere, especially if he's a protector, especially if he's a man of faith, a man, because she says she likes to party and go out. This is the part that I didn't go over with Lost in Translation, is when she talked about being able to go to clubs and still hang out with her friends. No man who is married to a woman, an alpha male, is going to have his wife out 1, 2 o'clock in the morning with some soft legs around the city. He don't know where she is, and anything can happen to her. So I told her that she would, if she keeps that mindset, she would never ever be able to be. She would never ever be married, and that's why she's particularly single now. So we'll start with our pain. What are your thoughts on the mindset of these young women?
I mean, you already said it all. I mean, nobody's going to go for that. I mean, I can't believe she came up with a hypothetical like that.
Yeah.
Because I think she had to know that you would say, no man worth his salt would marry you under those conditions.
Right.
I mean, I guess she might have just been trying to make conversation, because it sounds obvious that nobody has that kind of freedom, man or woman, when you get married. Right. And, so she better not do a chameleon thing and try to trick somebody up and then start trying to go do that kind of stuff. So, so I wouldn't go for that. I mean, and even if you ain't the toughest alpha male, that what kind of bargain are you kind of striking? I mean, if a man says yes to that, he's less than a beta male.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because even if we look at my sister in the chat, beautifully animated, she said, so she wants to be single with guaranteed dick. That is correct. She wants to be able to have control of her life. She wants to still be able to live the single life, but have a man. What
It's
are your
not guaranteed dick, it's guaranteed provision, because she might
Exactly.
not even give him any.
Exactly. And I shared with them a story that I heard just recently while I was on a trip in Jamaica. I think I heard it in Jamaica. And I wanted to share it with you guys. There was somebody, I was listening to somebody on a video, and I heard him say, men don't marry. No, it wasn't anybody on the video. I think it was an actual guy I was talking to. He said, men don't marry for love or sex. He said, a man can actually be with a woman and not marry her and have sex with her. A man can love a woman and not marry her. He said, men get married for balance. Men get married for peace of mind. They get married because they see something in you and they value something in you other than the thing that, they want to be able to be connected to you in a commitment. So in saying that to these women, they still have the mindset of men. And she kept reiterating, oh, I know a man out there. I know one, right? I know it's a man out there that's alpha males that would accept me in the way I want to do things. No, you will never find him. He's not out there. He does not exist. And especially if he's a real guy, a real man, never gonna happen. So what are your thoughts, Lost in Translation?
What she's asking for is a beta male.
Yes.
And here's my thing about that. If she does find somebody who lets her do whatever she wants to do, she's not going to respect him, man.
Right.
She's not. And I keep trying to tell people, man, everybody wants to sign up for the sunshines and the rainbows, but don't nobody want to sign up for the rain. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think Denzel said, hey, when you pray for rain, you got to deal with the mud.
Come on.
And I think
That's
a
what he
lot of
said.
people think when they get in marriage, it's supposed to be all rainbows and sunshine. Well, everybody knows that you can't grow anything without any rain. You know what I mean? You got to have the rain and the sunshine. That's the only way you're going to have to grow.
Right.
And to me, it seems like she wants to select the best parts of marriage and don't want to deal with the parts that are required, like protection. That is a requirement. Your husband is required to protect you. You know what I'm saying? And you're asking him to do something that goes against his better nature.
Right.
Now, here's my thing. I think earlier you said that was a deal that she cooked up where she wants to go and do whatever she want to do. Well, a deal means that everybody involved gets something out of the deal. What exactly does he get out of the deal? Does he get a side chick? Does he get to have sex with whoever he wants to, when he wants to, without her permission?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the side of the deal that people don't want to talk about. Everybody want to talk about, you know, the sunshine on their side, but they don't want to talk about the rain coming from the other side. You know what I mean? What is the man supposed to be getting out of this deal? And I think that's probably the real reason why we have problems with relationships is because we're terrible deal makers.
Right.
You know what I mean? We all want to have all the benefits of the deal, but we don't want to have the contingencies. We don't want to have the bad parts that happen if we don't hold our end of the bargain up. You see what I'm saying? We want to have all the good parts of the deal and none of the bad parts. So I think that's probably the main reason why we have the situations that we have in relationships, because we're bad deal makers.
All right, man. Well, hey, listen, we got the doctor in the building tonight. That was great. Lost in translation. I told y'all, sweet nasty. Now Alexis from Texas says, Alexa, play Cameo Single Life. That will be fitting for her. Exactly, talking and thinking like that. But we have the doctor in the building tonight. From your profession, what do you think about these ladies? If you were there and they said this to you, and they said, from a male perspective, what do you think, Dr. Nkumbe? What would you say, Doc?
Well, a couple of things. One, I would say go for it. You definitely go for what you want, because if he chooses to be that way, chicken, was it chicken dinner, winner, or something like that? That's so I wouldn't put the onus on her.
Right.
Now, when the guy starts complaining, well, why do you treat me this way? Why? Because what is she selling him up front? Because if he's offering these promises of protection and blah, 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 and then she flips the script or changes the job description, I mean, usually you'll know up front, but some change the job description. And that's what I say is the tricky part. So that's when I say that's foul play, because you not only are you flipping the script, but then you're actually going to decrease. I mean, we're talking about messing with his manhood. And one of the things I find is a lot of these products are, people are following the ideas of these marketing products. Let me give you an example. If people know about e-ink versus a tablet, or a tablet versus a computer, you know how there's no real sweet spot. And I think sometimes people are wanting all of this, but they want a little bit of that. And that's when these guys, like they change themselves to fit into that sweet spot, but not recognizing what the cost is that comes with that. So if you surrender this, you have to understand what comes with that. You try to increase that, you have to understand what comes with that. So that confusion of not finding that sweet spot is what I think a lot of ladies are going through. They want protection. You know, that whole argument about who's going to get up in the middle of the night, who's going to do this and who's going to do that. Notice how they conveniently say things like carry this and do that. They still do those things, but love having the ability to tell a man what to do, but at the same time doesn't want him soft and weak. See all that confusion? So finding that weak spot is what I would say. Hey, ma'am, you need to figure out what it is you want and understand what sacrifices come with it, and don't try and play in that middle spot, because you're going to end up messing with someone's life. Men, if you are doing that, you need to figure out what side you want to be on, and then not accuse her of doing anything to you because you chose to sign up.
Right. Yeah. And to go further into the conversation, because it went on for a while until I just started dozing off. Because she starts saying things like, men need to be more understanding. And in 2023, all this protection and provision, he said, it's nothing but men using other words to cover up being controlling. She said,
everything is controlling.
She said, if a man calls her, she gave examples, so I was glad about it. That's why I'm using it tonight. She said, if her man called her and said, hey, baby, where you at? She said, that's controlling. Because why do you need to know where I am? Why do you need to know what I'm doing if you trust me? If you love me? What is your agenda calling me, asking me what am I doing? Where am I at? You know, and she said that men use provision and protection as cover-ups for being controlling.
Well, I have one thing to say to that. I don't know what you guys think, but I think that's been consistent through time.
Yes.
That same protection, boom.
Yeah.
But now it lands differently for the modern woman. So that change is not the man trying to be controlling. I mean, you have the controlling man, and you have the one that's sincerely concerned, and the one that needs to know so he can run operations, so he can run a smooth home, not control you like a robot, but just so I can help be in control, that security. But I think that flip in the script, the play on words, actually, I consider women who say that as gaslighting. You know, you're messing with that dude. Like now all of a sudden he's doing this, trying to control you, and you're using the very thing that's helped to secure the relationship through the sign of time.
All right, man. What are your thoughts, Lost in Translation?
Here's my thing, man. We love to say what we want people to do, but if they did it to us, we would have a problem with it. What if her husband went missing for 3 days? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And she called him all of a sudden. He pick up and she's like, "Where are you? Where have you been?" And he says, "I'm tired of you being controlling." You see what I'm saying? Get off my back. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So we ask for things that we really wouldn't put up with, you know, if somebody gave those things to us. And I think that's a problem in relationships today, man. We're not aware of how we appear to our partner. You see what I'm saying? And my thing is this: if if her husband gave her the same medicine that she gave him, you know, she wouldn't like it. So I think when we start doing relationships, we can take a step back and say, hey, you know, if I did this to her, would she enjoy that? Or if she did that to me, would I enjoy that? But I think a lot of people are not aware of how they appear to their spouse in situations like that.
All right. R. Payne, what are your thoughts?
He's pretty much said it all. I mean, it's like a role-playing thing would be a good idea, but I'm still getting stuck on how a guy ends up being with a woman like that. I mean, I'm sitting down here saying, you know, because all the signs of what she's saying in a marriage, for example, she probably showed him in a courtship, in a vetting process. If he still goes around through it, he's probably broken enough that he probably won't even ask where she's at. You know, so if he's still asking her in a marriage with a woman like that, where she's at, then he kind of knows he messed up by asking her to marry him in the first place. Because if he passed all the wickets and he still accepted all that stuff, she's saying, "Hey man, I told you what I was gonna do, and now you're going back on your word." You know, so I don't know, man. So I'm adding stuff to it. But with a woman like that, it should never even get that far. You know, I'm just thinking about, because I'm thinking about doing a piece on this anyway, that a man who's at the gate, you're the gatekeeper of marriage. A woman like that is not supposed to be on the marriage side of the gate. She should never get through.
Right.
Period. Never. You know, so, and if you're a beta man who let her through, then you got to expect those kind of things from a woman like that and just take it in stride. And that's crazy, man. I just couldn't see that. You know,
so what do you think looks play a role? You know, like those. So you have the women who are just so fine, and that guy who's so happy to be with her for her looks, or you had that guy who's so desperate for a relationship that they make they accept that role.
It could be either or both. It could be either or both. Men who have a lot of men have a scarcity mindset. I mean, you know, if they get a woman who's interested, they tend to accept or change their standards because, man, it took me a long time to find this woman. She ain't perfect, but I can live with it. Knowing that it's going to be a lot of pain, and they don't realize how much pain it is until they actually get into it. That's why I tell men, listen, if you got some standards, you can't bend them. If there's some things you can't live with, you got to know it, and you got to live by that, even if you got to go look for another honey. You know, so it could be looks, but it could also just be, you know, scarcity. It could be, you know, I don't know, all kinds of dumb shit.
Sweet like caramel, man. I got to hold on.
That's
right.
it.
And so let me say this. Welcome, Hank, to the show tonight. What's going on, my boy, Hank?
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing this evening?
What's happening, Hank?
Man, I was showing some love to you earlier, man, showing some appreciation to you, man. Thanking you for coming in and co-hosting with Mr. Bennett the other night on the sports show, man. Always being there for you, boy. When I call you, man, Hank always got my back, just like the rest of y'all, man. So it's good to have a circle of brothers who look out for you, man. I can't thank you guys enough, man. I swear, if I win the lottery, ain't none of us working no more.
Hey, man, look, I don't know about R. Payne, man. That dude is a whore. He is a panel whore. His ass, he be on everybody's goddamn. Look, I seen him on Trigger Mike, Jeff over here. He's a panel whore. Yeah, watch that guy. He's a panel whore. I'll just play with y'all, man. You know, you all,
man,
you all
I freely say it, man. I'm a groupie, man. I'm a panel groupie. That's how you say it. I'm everywhere.
Yeah, groupie.
You know, but
She
he
belongs
only
to
got,
the
only
street.
got 3 panels, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Trigger Mike
Hey,
this one.
he's a roadie. He's a roadie for the
Yeah,
panels.
roadie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Hank, I was I don't know how much you've heard. I was talking about this a conversation that I had with some young ladies at my job, who said that they want to be married, but they want to keep their life consistent the way it is now. Meaning, one of the things that stuck out the most is when she said, "I want to be able to go to my husband and tell him what I'm doing. I shouldn't have to check with him to see if I can do it." And so she said, "I want to be able to go to." She gave an example of Hawaii. She said she don't want to go to her husband and say, "Hey, baby, how do you feel about me going to Hawaii?" She wants to be able to go to him and say, "This weekend I'm going to Hawaii with my girls." What are your thoughts about the mindset of women like that? And she wants to be married. She wants to have a husband.
Look, some men might put up with that. Some men will accept that. I mean,
Data.
we know those dudes are out there. We know they are, and they will accept it. They be okay with it. I'm just not that guy. There's no way I was gonna come say, "Yeah, I just want to go." With who? Is you plan us a trip? I'm saying you plan us a trip because that's how we going. We're going together in the name of love. You talking about you going about no, you ain't. I'm saying you better go and stay there. I shack up with one of your girlfriends. You ain't coming back here. The lock's gonna be changed.
So let me ask you this, Hank.
So.
If they played it like this, okay, hypothetically speaking, your woman, I know this would never happen, but hypothetical here, and you said, "Hey, baby, how was your day?" "Oh, it was fine." "Hey, baby, I was just letting you know this weekend, me and the girls flying out to Hawaii. I'm leaving tomorrow." What comes next?
I'm gonna tell you better go get a refund. Go get your money back. I hope you put down for that security, so you can get your money back from that Hawaii trip. We can always exchange that flight ticket for some other trip we're gonna take, but no, you're not doing this, man.
I spent $2,000. Hank, is non-refundable.
Okay, well, it's a loss. You look like you lost $2,000. Yeah, I'm
Hank. Now, okay, hold on, Doc, because I want you to go on to. I want you to put in what I'm about to say. But Hank, you being controlling.
Okay, that's fine. Call me what you want to.
No, but same thing. Seriously, I'm just wondering, does it change at all if your woman says, maybe not even in that conversation? See, the smooth one doesn't do it in that conversation because that's the challenge. I'll lose. But on the back end, and when I'm saying to you, I just want you to know you're changing lately. You seem more controlling. I was wondering if you were jealous of the girls the other day, and I'm just wondering like what's going on because you're scaring me a little bit.
I'm sorry you feel that way, baby, but that's not the case. I just know what's best for the family. And you going to Hawaii without your husband is not best for the family. So I'm sorry you feel that way, but it's going to be all right. Look here, don't worry. How about next summer we'll plan this trip for us to go together? You know, maybe a anniversary trip. What do you think about that, baby? You like that idea? I do.
I do only one thing though. That's all about you. You just keep me away from my girls. You're keeping me away from my girls. And I think
but Doc, it's not all about me. It's about us because there's not gonna be no us if you're gonna be with them. If that's how you're gonna roll, you might as well go on and marry them and shack and get your Golden Girl a membership going because it's not what we're doing here. So if you call that control, call it what you want to, baby. This ain't what we're gonna do. It's not how we roll. That's not what we agreed to. We talked about this from the get. But when I started dating you, we had these conversations then. So I expect you to hold to that. Just like you expect me as a man to hold to what I told you I would do. I will be monogamous. I will be faithful to you. I will not cheat on you. I will not lie to you. I will be honest with you. And I will be open to you. But once you start going back on our agreement, now everything's going to be up on the board and up for question.
I think that's the key thing. Our pain, we talked about that before. In the beginning, the agreements. I hope y'all hear that. See, Hank didn't just say, I changed, I flipped the script. We had this agreement from the beginning. You went into the relationship knowing that girly stuff is going to be limited. And I think that's the key difference.
Yep, and Hink, shout out to you because you hadn't heard this in a while, and I want to play your theme song. Here we go. Let's get a little bit of it, okay?
Thank you for being a friend.
Hink said, if you don't get yourself together, he said that you're gonna be like the Golden Girls. You're gonna have to move in with your home girls and set up shop with your girls because the lock's gonna be changed at the door if you go to Hawaii with your girls and leave him at the house. So I just wanted to make sure you guys knew.
No.
There they go. Look, there they go, Golden Girl. There go Dorothy Blanche. There we go. Sophia. There we go. So he has them there as a reminder that you can go to your girl house and say thank you for being a friend because Hink didn't put me out. All right. Just want to make sure everybody knew about that because it's crazy out here in this world today. But anyway, I want to also move on. I don't know if you guys have seen the documentary, Dr. Nkumbe Arpain, Hink, and Sweet Nasty. I don't know if you guys seen the documentary with Kirk Franklin. You saw it? Okay. It was very upsetting. The first person I thought about when I saw it was Dr. Nkumbe because I wanted to see what his mind would think about this woman who destroyed two men simultaneously, just destroyed them. So what we're going to do is because I like to present receipts and I like to present video footage so we can properly break it down. I won't get all you guys' opinion, but I definitely want the clinical perspective as we break it down. So Dr. Nkumbe, you'll definitely go last because I want to hear everybody else's opinion. Then I want to get your clinical perspective. This is the documentary. I chopped it up pretty good because I didn't want to get copyright stricken for it. I think I chopped it up enough where we can understand what's going on. So let me set the premises here. Kirk Franklin at the beginning of this video, because I'm going to talk it through because I want you guys to know what's going on because we couldn't do the full video documentary. Kirk Franklin, when this comes on, you'll see Kirk Franklin talking to what happened is his mother's brother passed away, his uncle. He hadn't spoken to his mother in 20 years. The reason he didn't go to his uncle's funeral is because he doesn't talk to his mom. And at the funeral, one of his childhood friends, they were just talking, and she overheard them talking about Deborah, which is Kurt's mom. And he said, "Oh man, years ago, me and her dated. We had a good time together." And the childhood friend looked at this man and say, "Wait a minute, look at them ears and that nose on this man. That man looked just like Kirk, and Kirk looked like that man." So this man, they said it's a rumor because he's never known about a baby. A woman has never told him about a baby. Deborah ain't never spoken to him about a child. So he know for a fact that Kirk ain't his. But to please everybody, he swabbed himself. And Kirk found out about it, and Kirk swabbed himself and went to the doctor. And this is where the video will start. Let me get everybody over so we can look at it. Give me just a second here. All right, there we go. All right, let me pull it up. Here we go. And I'll stop it, as we go. Here we go.
Probable paternity, 90.
The sound is out.
Can you guys hear it?
The sound is out.
Okay. Let me put the sound in. My bad. I apologize, guys. Hold on just a second. All right, give me a thumbs up if you can hear it, guys. Here we go.
Probable paternity, 99.99999%.
Percent what?
Yes, he's your father.
This man is my father? My mama lied to me again? And I've lived my whole life trying to figure out who the
you are.
I am. I'm saying that I have hated one man my whole life.
I know. And you were hating the
And
road.
he didn't deserve it. This man went to his grave. This man went to his grave. I gotta process this moment.
So I'll stop it there. So far, what is going through your mind, fellas? We'll start with Lost in Translation and go around the room. What are your thoughts so far?
What stood out to me was that he said she lied to me again. So I'm thinking, what did she lie to him about the first time? That the first guy was his dad, or was it something else?
Yeah. His entire. That's what I'm talking. Put this in perspective because you may want to not see it because it's cut up.
Right.
Let me give you some perspective. The guy that you'll see it in a second. I think it's in there. You'll see it, but he thought. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and get it out the way. Here it is, right here. He calls his mom's sister.
Right.
And this is the conversation. Listen to this. And you could tell from jump that this side of his family, they're the women are horrible. But listen to how she speaks to him after this man's trying to figure out everything. He's going crazy.
Hello.
Sandra,
Who? Who you calling?
Aunt Sandra.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, Kirk.
You know, that's not something that I appreciate, but I'm gonna get
That's
back to you
okay.
too. You know, if that's how you want to continue to communicate with me. Listen, I need to see you and Deborah. I'm gonna text you. No, I'm gonna text you this number.
Okay.
I'm gonna text you this number and just give me a call back.
All right then.
Okay, thank you.
So at this moment, he just found out that he's Kirk's father after 52 years.
This is not your fault. You didn't know. Hey, they didn't know.
I did, man. And had I known, you would have known. And I would have.
Come here, man. Give me a chance. This is going to be a lot, but I want to hug you. Please forgive me if it's not best time. Just
You're hugging your real daddy after 52 years. After 52 years, guys.
he didn't even know. He didn't even know he had a son. And I didn't even know I had a father.
52 years, guys. He met his real dad. Upcoming in the next segment of this video, you'll see who he thought his daddy really was, who he grew up resenting because the man didn't have a connection with him, wasn't in his life or anything. And the man died of cancer. And he goes to therapy, Dr. Nkumbe, for a man who he thought was his father, who he feel like destroyed his life as a child. And it was never his father. The man was never his father. And so I'll go around the room. Dr. Nkumbe, I'm gonna get you last after everything's over because I know you're taking notes in your head and probably writing some things down. So I'm definitely gonna get your perspective later. But Hink, I went to Lost in Translation first. Hink, what so far, man? What are your thoughts, man? What are your thoughts?
Well, the sad part is that his mother just rode this life for a long time, for his whole life.
52 years.
Yeah, I mean, you knew you had a father. Yes, that's how you got here. It's just about figuring out who he was. And so the lie that was told to him, because the guy didn't feel like he had a relationship with, or he didn't have a connection with. I wonder if he even thought about, getting a test on him if he even thought about that before he passed or anything like that.
Right.
I think I would have did it, because it don't sound like it's the first time his mother lied to him. She sounds like she lied to him multiple times.
Oh yeah.
And you know how some young men are. A mother can't never tell a lie. Everything their mother says is true, and we know that's not the case.
Right.
We know some of these mothers lie a lot to try to hide their shame and their and some of the bad things that they've done in life, the mistakes they made early in life, and so they try to cover it up by telling lies and not being honest with your kids, and that's not helping the kids, because after a while they're gonna figure the truth out, and when they do, they're gonna look at you differently. Then you're gonna wonder why they kind of shy away from you or have little to no respect for you anymore because of the things you told them.
Right.
All come find out it was all a lie. And to do this man a disservice like that, man, that's a selfish move. That's a selfish move. So she's probably the neighborhood freak, and she was getting bust down by a lot of dudes, and now the chickens come home to roost. And so this is what you have.
Exactly. All right, Payne, what are your thoughts real quick, and I'll start the video back.
Yeah, listen, I don't know if you will mind me giving a little bit more background. Now,
Yeah,
listen,
go ahead.
listen, he was adopted by a distant relative. His mother was in the neighborhood, but she didn't even want to raise him.
Yeah, she put him
So
on
he knew where she was,
Mhm.
and they had some contact briefly. Then they got estranged for 20 years. But don't go get it twisted. I think he was sending her money too. That's number one. The other thing is, I lost my train of thought. So yeah, so he there was a lot of stuff going on here. There's another point I wanted to make about this paternity, but let's move on to this thing. So it's really tough to see a guy going through this, the kind of damage paternity fraud does on all different levels. This is another example of that. It may not have been criminal what she did, but to him it was emotionally damaging. I did a video on this. It's my third piece on paternity fraud. I have like a series of paternity fraud videos, and this was one that I did, and how this damaged him. And the video, but first of all, the video, this video he calls Father's Day is pretty poignant. And if you get a chance, get the link and just watch it all the way through, because it's
Yeah.
pretty good. It's not that long; it's like 35 minutes long.
Right.
So it's very good. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here. So I'm not going to go ahead and belabor it. I mean, she did him wrong. His aunt did him wrong, and they had and they just, we'll get to it. You'll see
Yeah.
how his mother reacts down the road.
Absolutely. So let's get back into the video. And at the end of all of this, we'll have a clinical perspective from Dr. Nkumbe. So here we go. Let's finish up.
Hi.
Get your ass out.
Did she sign the paper? How to rewrite. It's because not only is it those in the struggle that are trying to rewrite it, but when you have systemic issues that sometimes encompass those that are trying to rewrite and rework, it can make the battle more difficult. Because I want you, Sandra, to know that you not knowing how to love ain't me not knowing how to love. How does that happen?
Probability of paternity?
Yes, ma'am.
100%. How's it possible? It's not, baby. I can swear on my dead mother's grave, Rick Hubbard is not your father. I don't know what happened, how this paternity test came back 99.95%. But I really would like to get to the bottom of it.
There's so many voices.
I have enough room and enough love in my heart for
This is his real father speaking to him.
whoever else you choose to bring it. Our hearts, our arms, and our doors are open to you for you to enter at your pace, on your terms, because it is about you. It's about you.
Because been repoed off the church parking lot. That's my story.
This I cannot accept. because this is not true. And I apologize from the bottom of my heart on this.
Two tests that I put in front of you. I need to hear you. I need to hear you.
2 tests were taken.
The little boy Kirk needs to hear you. Are you saying that you reject the results of these 2 tests? That's what I need to hear.
Yes. My denial, is that going to put a wedge between you and I?
Yes. If you can't give me this, no hug, no word of encouragement, no sugar, no joke, nothing can substitute what I deserve and what I've needed and what I've missed. You just want the truth.
The DNA. The DNA. Yes.
I need my mom.
And I need my son too.
If my mom watches this, I want her to know.
And I still can't have you.
That I have lost so much not having you. And it would have been really, really, really nice to get that from you.
You're on mute, black man.
Yeah, that's the end of it, guys. Let me get y'all back in here. Overall, everybody's thoughts, and then Dr. Nakumbe, we'll wrap it up with you.
Well, who's that woman with her? Who is she?
Her sister.
So let me tell you this. The unfortunate thing, I bet her sister know the goddamn truth.
Yep, exactly.
I bet her sister know the truth, and she ain't saying shit. She should be right now. Her sister ought to be saying, "Girl, you know that boy's daddy."
Yep.
Somebody in that house, I don't care if it's a mother, her sister, somebody should say, "Girl, you know you been lying to this boy forever." Or this man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call him man, boy. You've been lying to this man forever. You've been lying for 52 years.
Yep.
And for 52 years, you let that dude down the street think that wasn't his son. You should have told him the first day, knowing you probably sleep around on your boyfriend. Or I don't know who she was probably with. She probably had a couple boyfriends, but it so happens that one got her pregnant, and she probably tried to put that child on another man before it was the first dude that died of cancer. I'm sure she probably tried to put him on another man, and that didn't work out because he wasn't up to her standards or up to par. So she put on this other man who was more successful, probably had a little money. Had a little cachet in the neighborhood. So he was known. He had a nice job. He's bringing in good money. Didn't want to deal with Kurt Rizzo. That he's probably some old player out there in the streets, a womanizer. Didn't want to, put that baby on him because he knows he wasn't going to be out about nothing. He's probably in and out of jail. I'm just speculating, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not far from the truth.
Well, he went to the
man.
Yeah, to give you some context, I want to hear you after I tell you this. He's retired military, living very good in a very beautiful mansion in Fort Worth, Texas. He's married. He has 3 other children, and he lived a pretty good life. Now, what's coming out in Dallas? Because I'm here in Dallas, and after all this stuff came out, everybody that know Kirk get to talking. They say the reason that she don't want to come forward is because she was probably 19 or 20 when she got pregnant. And he was 16 years old, 16, 17. So I don't know that. Right. I don't know that to be true. But one of the young ladies that did a TikTok video said that she grew up with them. As an older lady did a TikTok, said she grew up with them. And that boy, that's Kirk's daddy, used to be over there when she was babysitting all the kids.
Yeah,
in the neighborhood. So that's probably why she don't want to come forward, because it's embarrassing.
So I bet the sister.
I'm speculating here. I'm speculating. I don't know if that could be true.
Sister code ain't gonna talk down about that. I bet the sister code not gonna shame that. But let
Right.
that shoe been on the other foot. That man would have been a predator. He been a monster.
A
He been a
groomer.
groomer.
And he,
Taking advantage of a child. We would have
Bro.
heard all of this.
and that's why I'm
That's
giving
it.
perspective. Our pain is my witness. In the video, because I want to keep you going here. In the video, it says in the document, I wish I could show it all, but you know, copyright's crazy. In the video, it shows that Kirk said, I cannot believe this man is my father. This man grew up down the street from my mansion where I live. And he said, my son used to play by this man's yard, and my son used to speak to this man, talk to this man every day, and that's his granddaddy. That's been my father and his grandfather for years, and we didn't even know it. We speaking to this man, hey, good morning, and the whole time that's my real daddy.
And black man, you know something? She turned the tears on like a light switch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't feel bad for her.
Lord. Stop it.
She turned the tears on, but that's after she said, is that going to change our arrangement?
Because she's selfish.
Yeah, man. She's been following her money, man.
He's taking care of her. He's looking out for her. Now, he better than me, because I would have cut her ass off.
Completely.
I would have cut. I would say, I love you, mama, but I can't do it.
Yep.
You lied too much to me. You played too many games with my emotions.
Exactly, bro.
You knew how bad I wanted to have a father in my life. To the point I cursed out a man who I thought was my father. And now I got to go to this man's gravesite and apologize to this man because I cursed him because I thought he was my father. And he didn't want nothing to do with me. I got to make amends.
And the dude was broke.
I got to make amends.
The dude was broke because he said, mama, you don't know how it felt that you put me up for adoption. And he said, you put me in, I had to go sell my adoption mother's lawnmower to just get a pack of crackers, just to eat a snack, just to get enough money to get a burger. I had to go sell stuff out of my adopted mother's house to go do that. And my daddy was right down there with money, retired military, doing great for himself. Why would you keep him from me? This just crazy, bro.
Because of the backlash.
Oh my God, bro.
She's worried about what somebody's going to say about her.
Yep. And to this day, and you were down at 70.
She's so selfish that she put her child up for adoption.
Yep.
Yeah, I got no respect for that.
I have no respect for either. Lost in translation.
Bruh.
You got a chance to see it the rest of a little bit of
the man.
What's your thoughts, bro?
That's a lot of moving parts, man.
53 years of neglect. I'll see you in the chat, y'all.
It's a lot of moving parts, man. One, she knew who his daddy was the whole time and refused to tell him.
Yep.
That's holding a lie for 100 years. You understand what I'm saying? How do you hold a lie for half a century?
Exactly, bro.
You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, the brother, there's no telling what his life could have looked like if his real daddy was in his life. Who knows? He could have probably been farther along than what he is right now if he knew who his daddy was.
Exactly.
And not to mention the emotional scars that he has. You see what I'm saying? Based upon situations like this. And I think a lot of times women back then didn't think that something like DNA would come around. You know what I mean? See, a lot of times it's now technology is catching up to a lot of the foolishness, and we're really starting to understand the dark side of human behavior. You know what I mean? Through science. And it's one of those things that we're not happy about when we see it. But my thing is this: what do you do going forward? You know what I mean? Do you actually look in the mirror and say, hey, you know what? Going forward, I think I need to do better. You know, each and every person. Because we can't undo what we've already done. But if you've already messed up, the first thing to do is confess. You see what I'm saying? And at least you can try to attempt to make it right. But in this particular situation, she didn't even want to confess.
Nope.
In the face of two completely different DNA tests. You know what I mean? And still want to hold fast to the lie. Like these people go to school for this. You know, genetics for real. And for all these years, and they don't know what they're talking about. And then she's swearing on her dead mother's grave. All of that is just foul. You know what I mean? It's really just foul. And it speaks to what we talked about earlier, how we don't do business well with each other. You know what I'm saying? She said, if I don't tell you the truth, do we still keep our arrangement? And Kirk Franklin was like, no sugars,
Nope. No sugar,
none of
no
that.
joke, nothing.
And I think he was wanting to tell her ain't no more money coming either. You know what I mean? Since you didn't lie, but he didn't want to put her out like that, like she ruined him. You know what I'm saying? So my whole thing is this: we got to get better at doing business with each other. And in this particular situation, Kirk Franklin's mother did not do business well with her son or his real father, all because she wanted to maintain a saintly view. You know what I mean? In our neighborhood, in our communities, we don't think mama could do wrong. You know, we put mama on a pedestal.
Yep.
That can't be touched. You know, you can't nobody say nothing bad about mama. So when it comes to daddy, oh buddy,
yeah,
you just like your daddy. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna drag the daddy all through the mud or whatever.
Yep.
In this case, Kurt really was like his daddy. He had some success in his genes in spite of what he had to go through. You know what I mean? To me, that speaks volumes to how God had his hand on that boy, regardless of his circumstances and his situations, regardless of all the people lying around here. To me, that's a testimony. He better use that, like for real. Regardless of whatever he's going through, he better use that. That's my whole thing, man. But to wrap everything up, I think she really should have came clean in the face of evidence, and it would have been better if Kirk didn't have to resort to the DNA to do it, because she went all the way to the line. You know what I mean? You know how we set boundaries with people and they take it all the way to the line. And then after that, the relationship is never the same again because people know where that line is. Well, in this particular situation, she knows where the line is. And guess what? That relationship will never, ever be the same.
Oh, I'm sorry. Guys, I want to share this with you because before I watched the Kirk Franklin documentary, I did a short. I don't know if you guys saw it. It's called Dear Mama, I'm Holding You Accountable. Because in our community, we do deal with what Hink said and what Lost in Translation said, where mama is put on a pedestal and no matter what mama did, we don't call mama out, but daddy ain't shit. Right? We can say daddy ain't shit all day, but nobody wants to hold mama accountable. Thank you for being here tonight, Dr. Steele. I'll be with you in just a minute. I want to share this with you guys because I think it's important. When I put this out the other day, I had a lot of pushback from some of my own family members that says, damn, I can't believe that you would even put something out like that. But it's truth. And you know how many men are dealing with this truth. And so let me play it for you guys real quick. Let me turn it on. All right, here we go. Don't do that tonight. Ain't nothing but the devil ain't gonna play with us tonight. We're gonna get this. This is gonna play tonight. Hold on a second, because I think this is important. Because when we're gonna start holding the mothers in our community accountable, right? Even Tupac said, even though you were a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen, mama. If he would have held her accountable, he would have said, mama, you a crackhead. When are we gonna start saying, mama, you was a hoe? Mama, you was out of line. Mama, the way you treated my daddy. Mama, the way that you told me this was my daddy, but he wasn't my daddy. I went to this man's funeral. He wasn't my daddy. Mama, why? When are we going to start holding these mamas accountable instead of taking up for them and saying, oh, you don't know what they went through? That right there speaks volumes. Because a lot of people are like that. A lot of situations in this world where men see their mamas out of line but can't say nothing because out of respect for what they have for their mom. But I just want to go around the room because I get at loss for words, because this woman, what she did to Kirk, man, was just for you to swear on your dead mother's grave. That's a mental issue for me. For you to say, I'm not accepting 2 DNA tests. Guys, he did one without her knowing. She asked for another one because she said they manipulated the test. And so he went and did another one, but he invited her and she came and watched them do the swab, watched them take the test, and she still denied both of them because she doesn't want to be held accountable for what she did to this man and his father. 52. Okay. Dr. Steele, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
Huh?
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Can you give us your perspective on what you believe is going on here with this Kirk Franklin situation, my brother?
Well, the first time I have seen a short of the Kirk Franklin situation, I was thinking one of two things. Number one, either just like some of the men say, she's been, sleeping around with a lot of men, and one of them gets her pregnant and does not remember who it is. Or the second case is she must have really, really hate the man and didn't want him to know that she's the father. But either way it goes, it's pretty selfish of her, to keep something from a child. When you keep a secret from a child, especially for that long, it causes a lot of trauma. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that came to my mind when I first heard the Cook situation was how this one mother lied to her daughters about, their fathers touching them, in which, she knows good and well, he didn't do it. And that cloud has been walking over this guy's head for so long. It ruined his reputation. So now, the mom wants to come forward and try to apologize to them. Of course, he didn't accept his apology because she's not sincere. And that's actually how I feel about Kirk Franklin's mother. She's not sincere at all. No, she isn't. After 2 DNA tests, which this is DNA. This is biology. It doesn't lie. Okay? She still want to be delusional, in denial about, the guy being, Cook's your father. And, if you look at the father, the real father, he had a lot going for him, like you said. But yet, what did you say about, that so-called father of his?
Yeah, he didn't have no money, broke, drugs, alcohol. Just a terrible dude, bro. She chose to put Kirk on a terrible dude, and Kirk said that he felt abandoned, like he was never there for him. And Kirk said, even on that man's deathbed, he said, "Man, I feel abandoned by you. I resent you." And he said, the man said, "Oh, okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying." And he just died.
So now we got another classic case of the woman liking the bad boy instead of the good guy.
There you go.
Which to me, I never for the life of me get this whole situation about passing up the good guy and then go for the bad guy who knows good and well how aggressive and how bad acting he could be. And it saddens me that this mother see this guy like this, treating Kirk the way that he did, where the real father, I'm sure, wouldn't act like this at all. It's just so many things that you see throughout this situation.
Man, half a century.
Half a century.
A lie for half a century. Grooming and Reviews, thank you for being here tonight. And after you, we'll get the clinical perspective from the doctor. Go ahead.
Can you come here on space? What was going on? Because I missed half of it. I was driving back from work and I was on business call.
Not a problem at all. So the gospel artist.
Thank you.
Yeah, gospel artist Kirk Franklin is 52 years old. He just found out who his real dad is. His mom lied to him for 52 years that his daddy was the guy that he grew up with, who verbally and physically abused him, abandoned him, didn't do anything for him. And that guy died, and he had to go to therapy to take care of in his mind of how he can get through forgiving his father for abandoning him. But the entire time his mom lied to him, his real dad was right down the road. And he found out by going one of his childhood friends went to a funeral, and they found out, and the rumor started, and the guy just went swabbed his mouth because he said I'm not that guy's dad, and find out he is the dad. And so she lied to him for 52 years about who his dad was, and he's resenting the wrong man, mad at the wrong man, and the father of Kirk Franklin didn't even know he existed.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. I can't imagine what he's going through. The trauma in that brain has to be beyond anything.
Yeah.
I know I have some trauma through my father because my father wasn't the greatest father figure. He was a great provider, but in his defense, my father never knew what a father is because his father died when he was very young during a war. His father got blown up, literally blown up. My heart goes out for the guy. It really does. And hide that for so many years. Come on now. You could have spilled the beans a lot sooner, and be honest. I know honesty hurts, but come on. Sometimes honesty is the best medicine. Not lying. And what? Now he hated the father. Now he's definitely going to hate the mother more than anything. Like, I would always say, well, what the fuck, Ma? Like, that's my father. I didn't get a chance to actually get to know my own father. I'll be destroyed. I don't think therapy will be even enough to fix me after that.
And I also want to add this before Dr. Nakumbe gets ready. I also want to add the fact that imagine if his childhood friend didn't have curiosity. Because it only started with a childhood friend saw him at a gathering, at a funeral, and said, damn, he look like Kirk. That man, damn, I think that's Kirk. That may be Kirk Daddy, in a joking way. And that man, the rumors just started. Oh, that man look like Kirk. That could be Kirk Daddy. And everybody like, no, that ain't Kirk Daddy. We knew Kirk Daddy in the hood. Kirk Daddy used to slang that dope. Shit, we know who Kirk Daddy is. That ain't his daddy. And you find out that man's your daddy. Dr. Nakumbe, man, you've seen it all. You've heard everybody. What is your perspective over this whole thing? And then we'll open the floor for just open conversation about it all.
You bet. I'll try and keep this short. I love everything that everyone said. Just a couple of things to put in perspective. We're talking so 53, we're talking 5 generations back. So consider that. The thinking, just the mindset. And this is not for an excuse, not justifying. I'm just talking about the mindset. Where they're actually calling women 304, stuff like that. So just the mindset.
Right.
And if so the lady who adopted him was 60 something when 64, they're in that age range, right? That his mom had him when she was a teenager.
Right.
So we need to go back 5 generations. The mindset of teenagers having babies back then came in the community. That came with a different level of shame than as in now, where you might have a party or something if you're 12 and had a baby. And they're from Texas, and there's some bad people down in Texas. I mean, no, I shouldn't say, but anyway.
Hey, you know what, Dr. Nakumbe? You know what, Dr. Nakumbe? You know what?
Shame.
I got some. Come here, Denzel. Come here, Denzel. Come here, Denzel.
Bitch.
Yeah, them folks down in Houston, some bad people. But now you have a Southern mentality, and back in the 60s, 70s maybe, then who got her pregnant? And then if she was having sex as an adolescent, where did she know to have sex? So again, this is not to excuse it. This is just to put some additional pieces in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, almost like the guys who were going to war, getting women pregnant, or the men who were doing different things back then, you could call the police. You could go to jail. But a family secret was a family secret. Add on top of that, if you're a black man in a black family, back then, we talk about now not calling the police on each other. But I just want to take into consideration certain dynamics, and then you get lost in you lock in the lie. You lock in the lie. But just as much as Kurt is hurt, a mother, and I'm not a woman, so I can't speak to it. I can speak about it. To give birth, and then she had options, because if you go back 5 generations, they still had options.
Right.
So the fact that she delivered him, you don't forget that. So she hasn't forgotten. So there's a whole set of trauma also. So just a lot of hurt people in this process, a lot of hurt. And I'll end with this to have us think about one other thing. Who protected her? And then the man, it was a Clement, I think in the chat just said, the father, the guy the boyfriend, whatever, he died, possibly knowing he wasn't the dad, but not giving up the secret.
Yep.
And as crazy as that sounds, I don't even have to say back then, but that is a form of protection. As crazy as that sounds, I'm honoring, that's yours. You're going to have to deal with that shit. Ah, man, I hate that. Well, good luck, fella. So, so even though we could be like, shame on him, shame on her, and then, yep, I get the DNA. But any of you ever thrown trash out the window? Ever? Can you imagine if you threw trash out on a freeway or a certain street and then you got to a red light and someone came up? It's your shit? Now, you would say, no, most people would lie. And then if the person showed you a video of you loitering, throwing stuff out the window, that's not me. Now, I'm not saying Kirk and a piece of trash are the same, but I am saying the same mentality of just throwing it out, letting it go, and denying, even with evidence. So that's all. I'll leave it at that.
All right. Now, welcome Mr. Bennett to the show as well tonight. Mr. Bennett, do we need to catch up or were you listening? You weren't
I was listening to the whole. Yeah, I was. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you real good. Mr.
Okay,
Bennett, give us your perspective on what you saw and what you heard from everybody here, but what you saw Kirk Franklin's mother do to him for 52 years.
I think we got to be a bit honest about this. We've had shows recently dealing with the previous generations, and there's always this fight over, what generation was better. They had better values. They had, we had intact families, and I think we got to come to some realities. Was it the majority of us? That could be debated. But as I've said in these spaces, it's affected a significant number of this. This story, when I heard it, did not sound unfamiliar. From the time when you talk about babysitters, during that time, I mean, we had the block, right? I grew up for a time in the South. You had the block with the kids, and you had the older kids that were babysitters, and we knew stuff like that was going on, where they had these older kids with these older teenage girls. I don't want to say the wrong terms here, but violating young boys. I mean, that was something that was, I wouldn't say common, but it was familiar. Like, so nothing about this shocked me as far as as the story and her, defense to the very end. That didn't surprise me either, because again, when you have someone who's so separated from parental responsibility to where she's only interested in protecting her business transaction, that it doesn't surprise me that she's going to defend a story like that even with the evidence in her face, that wasn't going to surprise anybody. So again, it's unfortunate that he had to deal with that. The only thing I want to comment on, lost in translation, you talked about how, had he not gone through that, he could have been a bigger artist. I'm sorry, but I disagree. I think just with Black people, especially Black Americans, our trauma has been so much that it's almost as like an equilibrium. We balance it somehow with our gifts, whether it be in music and sports. The only well-adjusted athlete that I think I've ever known is Muhammad Ali, right? He grew up in a middle-class home with his mother and father. Everybody else, Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, all these people had this trauma that if they didn't have it, I don't think if Mike Tyson grew up in a middle-class home, we wouldn't have Mike Tyson. It's almost like these people are forged. I remember reading the documentary about Aretha Franklin and the violations that happened to her when she was a young girl. But I don't know if these people would be who they were. How can they birth what they're birthing through their music or through their talent or their creativity if it didn't come from this very dark place? So I don't think we would have a Kirk Franklin. I almost think the opposite. I don't think we'd have him if he didn't have so much trauma and burden, and that he had to turn to his giftings in order to help him navigate that. And we still see he's still affected, even with in the relationships with his own son. But I certainly
Right.
think looking at something like this, I think brings some greater context and clarity to possibly some of the issues. And so really the questions are, how can we break this chain and cycle of dysfunction, especially in African American communities where we can, really have people heal? Because I don't think this relationship is healing anytime soon. And and I hope Kirk, certainly with his son, the issues that they had a few years ago, if that could be healed, but it's just trauma after trauma after trauma, and you can't help but have some of this stuff down. I mean, Kirk Franklin, he said that he held a man responsible for over 50 years for something that he didn't do. So you don't think that that had an impact in terms of how he carried himself in certain spaces. So I just think this is just a significant. I said this in an earlier show. This is a significant. I'm not going to debate you over the numbers, the majority, the minority, or whatever, but a significant number of Black people have been affected by cases very similar to this, enough to where it needs to be addressed. And again, hurt people hurt people. So this thing, is carrying on. How can we break this? How can we break this cycle? I think it certainly starts with the truth. It starts with us having honest conversation and operating off of that basis versus what somebody might have been telling us over the years. I think we rely too much on that. We don't, really research facts and information. But I think it needs to start there, as painful sometimes as that is. But this was again, it just sounded just very familiar. It probably happens more than we want to admit, and I think we need to stop trying to paint a picture of what was, but how can we go forward and how we can heal, how we can do better going forward from wherever we're operating from.
Now, let me
Bennett,
say
can I
this.
ask you a question?
Oh, go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I just want to ask Mr. Bennett a question. Good to see you, by the way. 'Cause
Likewise.
I agree in one way with Lost in Translation that when you have two healthy parents, and then you like they want the best for you, and you want the best. But I also know trauma. Our struggles in life also helped us to be who we are. Like you were saying, Mike Tyson and stuff. I'm not too familiar with Kirk Franklin's music. When I think of like R. Kelly, his songs and stuff. But someone said in the chat, Kirk's one of the ones jumping up on stage, searching for meaning in life, and da 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 da. So would you agree that if it had not been that type of music, because again, I don't know, I might have made love to his music, I don't know, but if he did,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. Oh,
You in her DM, I'm in her mouth, we not the same. Flipping the funk, the heat, the fire, got the flame. Came with the gift, the gab, and blessed with lots of game. Be mad at me.
See, I can see me entering my girl's room shaking, but the talent, just the talent. So would you agree that talent-wise, that he would have been better off with the father, or are you saying that
again, I just from my empirical seeing, like, again, comedians, right? Like, you have that mask, remember that drama mask that's oftentimes seen with the sad face and the happy face. These guys go out. Robin Williams is probably like the best example of that for me.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah,
the guy who was just so incredibly funny and talented, just had you rolling, but he had all these demons he was just dealing with. I think that these guys are able to forge like how their music or how their talent affects us so much. It's got to be something else. Like I said, talent, when you hear, especially in a sports context, I hear this all the time. You have a lot of talented athletes who simply do not live up to their potential, right? They live on their talent, but they're not hungry. Where's that hunger coming from? Where's that fire that makes them, even though they're talented, perform beyond their talent? It'll only get to maybe high school level. You can live on talent, but when you talk about D1 ball or professional ball, there's got to be something ingrained in you that just drives you in such a way that you just take it to another level that everybody kind of relates to. So again, I'm not saying it's not possible, but just more times than not. I mean, Michael Jordan came from a middle class home, but I would hate to. I mean, the fact that he was so competitive to the point where he found anything. It was almost like for him, it was almost the opposite. The fact that he didn't come from drama, he had to create it. So he would take anything that you would say and use that as billboard material in order for him to go out there and dominate. He needed something to be angry at because he didn't really have a lot of anger to go off of. But he needed that fire in the belly to get him. Some people are just or birthed in that. Some people come, grow in that. I mean, the hip hop communities. How many of those artists? I mean, we don't have too many Clarences, so to speak, who come from that environment, like from 8 Mile. We don't have too many Clarences who make it to the upper echelons of that world. It's like you got to bring something that's emotional, and I think that comes out in the expression of the person that then makes it from just having nice music to great music or legendary music that we can all 30, 40 years later, we're still marveling at what those individuals brought to us. So I think it's more likely than not that trauma is the fuel. I mean, the skill might be there, or the gift might be there, but the fuel, what really propels it into the stratosphere, is coming oftentimes from dark places. That when we look at these people, it's like, man, how'd they come through that? And that Nietzsche line, whatever doesn't kill you, delete you, makes you stronger. I think what we've seen more times than not is the strong ones who came out. I was just watching a documentary on Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
He
on
had a
Netflix.
brother. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
And
documentary, bro.
and he had a brother who was, the brother was like the nice guy, but they
Mhm.
came from a very abusive home. But Arnold was such where he just used that and channeled that into his bodybuilding and everything that he did. That was the driver, where his brother couldn't handle it. And he wound up dying at an earlier age. It was an accident, but he was already in alcohol. He did a lot of things self-destructive because he couldn't take that heat.
Right.
So a lot of the people who we see at the top, these are the survivors. These are the trauma. I mean, we as just Black people in this country, right? We're the survivors of the ancestors who made it across the Atlantic, right? Most of those people died on the way. We're the strongest ones who survived that. So I just think that drives a lot of what we're seeing in our artists and in these gifted people, is a drive that, if they didn't have it, they would have been just another number, just like anybody else.
And before Lawson, because Lawson translation finna about to cook, Crystal Light put in the chat here, guys. She says Michael, R. Kelly, and Prince, great trauma, and they all were the best. Now, I will say this, because Dr. Nkumbe said something earlier that was profound. He said, hurt people. And if we look at the story of these three artists just here, before we hop back into it, this is just a sidebar. Michael Jackson, we knew he grew up in a very abusive home. R. Kelly as well. R. Kelly was to the point where he was sexually abused by his uncle, by his aunt. His aunt used to do the same thing to him when he was a 12, 13-year-old boy. He grew up and look where he is now. Prince had a song called Sister. I don't know if y'all remember this. Prince had a song called Sister, and he went down the song and said, my sister, he went into details. My sister did this to me. My sister gave me my first nut. My sister did this. I was my sister's man before she had a man, right? And so she was much older than he was. And so, and she's still alive to this day. And, she don't really like to talk about that record, but he talked about how his sister molested him. And they were all great artists. There's not a person in this world, I don't think, that could actually do a versus battle with R. Kelly. He just has too much material. He's written too much. He's done too much. And so great artists, man. And their trauma and their demons ate them up. Go ahead, Lost in Translation. And then everybody else, you can just jump in whenever.
Thank you. Dr. Bennett, I wanted to say, yes, that is a possibility. You know what I mean? Sometimes we birth, some of our greatest things from our lowest points. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing about that too. I think the reason why they do that is because so many people have been traumatized. So they advertise that because people can relate to it. But I'm here to tell you, you can also get motivated through positive means as well too. You look at people like Jalen Hurts, whose dad was in his life the whole time, and he groomed him, and he let Nick Saban and all these other guys groom him to be the quarterback that he is today, because his father is in his life. And as you can see, he got this huge contract. Same thing with Tua Tagovailoa. Tua down there in Miami threw 70 points down on them folks down there. You know what I mean? In Denver. You know what I mean? He had his dad in his life. You see what I'm saying? And still has a strong family ties. So my thing is this: we can motivate each other from different sides, but the thing about it is, the thing that gets the press is the thing that's the darkest and what people can relate to. You see what I'm saying? So there's always a positive and a negative that you can actually inspire people through. But like I said earlier, the negative is the only thing that forces people. You know, it's the fight or flight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
thing is this: in our community, you know, we have a lot of trauma, but yet we birth some great things that come out of our community sometimes. But I keep thinking about this Bible verse that sticks in the back of my mind. What does a man profit to gain the whole world and lose his whole soul? You see what I'm saying? Are
Oh,
we
I agree.
giving
Yeah.
up?
Yeah.
Are we giving up who we are? You know what I mean? For the benefits of what this world can offer, the trappings of what this world can offer versus the nurturing of a whole intact family that has the power of generations backing it, you know, through wisdom, logic, love, trust. You see what I'm saying? Those are the foundations of things that will actually propel us forward for generations that actually are proven, but it doesn't get advertised because it's not sexy. You see what I'm saying? We like to hear the story of Tyler Perry, who slept in his car, and now he made all these type of movies, and now he's sleeping in his jet. You know what I mean? He used to make movies and go to plays or whatever, and used to have to beg people to put his plays on at these little amphitheaters, little small theaters, to now he has his own, you know, studio on slave grounds in Atlanta. You see what I'm saying? Those things sell tickets. That idea sells tickets. But the real work that's being done in the community is by Mr. Joe Johnson, the man who gets up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning to go empty trash cans for his family. You see what I'm saying? And his wife who fixes his lunch for him every single day. You know what I mean? Because his hands are battered from picking up garbage cans every day and saving all his money to send his kids to school. You know what I mean? That particular trauma that men and women go through doesn't get advertised because that's what we're supposed to do. That's what we know we're supposed to do. But anytime we have a situation that sticks out where, you know, it's a fantastic story to make us feel good and say, if he can do it, I can do it too. Yes, you can. But I'm here to tell you, there are other ways that we can be successful versus, you know, amplifying and using our trauma to push us forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and mind you, I'm not advertising
Right, I know.
that the way to get to the top is to, again, I think a lot of these people, if they could trade, I mean, I remember seeing a picture that really just depressed me, like it was just mentioned earlier, with all of these greats that are sort of gone too soon. Michael, Prince, Whitney Houston, I mean, who was like the greatest in the 80s. I mean, I
Right.
challenge anybody to say who was greater than her on that level. I mean, I may have Angela Winbush vocally may get, I debate some guys just in terms of pure talent, but you talk about a voice of a generation. But just the demons that she still was struggling with, and I saw her movie recently, and just some of the internal things that she had with her father and her family and whatnot, and that's just that whole situation. So, like I said, but it seems like with those people, and I get certainly people want to sell a story, but it's like, why is it that when you just count the list and number of all these people, it was almost like this one picture I saw was like, it was almost like a gateway to heaven. And it had all of these people, Marvin Gaye, and it had just all these people. And it was like, I don't know if it was Prince next or whatever, but it was almost like welcome, brother, like you're the next one. But I'm saying to myself, why is it all of these people, these legends, these people who really shaped and formed not just Black America, but America in general? These people made American music what it is. And yet, to your earlier point about gaining the whole world but losing their souls, like all of them, we lost so many of them so early. And I'm just asking myself, like, what is that when you look at that kind of talent that may never be seen again, especially today's, man. I mean, I seldom listen to today's music scene, but when you lose those kind of influencers and voices and talent, it definitely seems like it sucks a lot of the oxygen out the room, and then that gets filled with product that's just not as either just a regurgitation of what was done before, because again, you can't replicate it. So everyone's sampling the 60s. I mean, rap was built on James Brown, you know what I mean? So everybody is taking what was done before, but no one's been able to take it to the next level. But yeah, but generally for the majority, yeah, that message of positivity or being in a productive environment, that is the undergird of the society. But then you have these rockets that just go into the stratosphere. But unfortunately, what's fueling that is coming from, again, dark places a lot of times. So, but your overall point, though, I certainly agree with.
You know what I think, Mr. Bennett? I think those people who stars burned out the quickest, I think they knew their time was coming to an end. To be
Yeah.
honest, I really do. That's the reason why they work at a fever pitch. If you watch Tupac put out a whole bunch of stuff at a fever pitch. Michael Jackson put out a whole bunch of stuff at a fever pitch. Prince has stuff we ain't even heard yet.
We never, yeah, a lot of these guys never. The vaults
You know what I'm
is
saying?
shut.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. I honestly believe those guys know that their days are numbered and they don't live long. And I think that's probably the reason why we look at them as greatness, because they know the time is coming near. But go ahead, Doc. I know you wanted to say something.
Yeah, well, I had a question, and this is just
Go
a
ahead.
crazy pitch. It's a pitch. If you saw the movie Life, did you see the movie Life?
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy.
A long time ago. Yeah, but I'm familiar with it.
Remember,
Yes. Yeah.
remember Can't Get Right?
Yeah, I remember.
And they were like, who's the father of this chocolatey baby? And so Can't Get Right was the father, but the entire roster refused to say anything. I'm the boss of that. I'm the papa of that baby. I'm the guy. Right? They all protected Can't Get Right because of the hopes of the potential that he has. And so here's the pitch. When I was listening to you, I was thinking like, wow, how many? I think that is something that's generational. That we knew each generation had that mega star or someone that we all knew was doing something they shouldn't have been doing, but there was a code of secrecy or allowance. And I just wonder how far back that goes, and if that's kind of a generational thing that we just do with the who wants to turn in an R. Kelly, who wants to. And I'm not saying their behaviors were correct. It was a crazy pitch. Did that make sense?
Yeah, because if you think about it, they were trying to throw Michael Jackson under the bus. You know what I'm saying? It was like he always had them kids over at the Never Ranch and just never had proof. But that's a horse of that was when they want to try to tear somebody down, because he had the one up on them with the books. You know what I'm saying? I've seen that before, how people will cook up stories on you. But doctor, to speak to that, you would probably be right. Especially you'll have guys that come up to play football that couldn't read, and the teachers would pass them. You know what I'm saying? Because they had talent. And then all of a sudden, when they graduate from college and make it to the pros, Mrs. Johnson, who was a school teacher, all of a sudden got a new Mercedes Benz. You know what I mean? Thank you, Miss Johnson, for helping me with my schoolwork. And everybody who took, who was in the class knew he couldn't add 2 + 2. You know what I'm saying? So I can see that. I can definitely see how people would get pushed along the way because they had talent.
Because even in the Kirk story, I'm sure that it had to be some type of conspiracy. I mean, you have, I think, at least 2 or 3, 4 people know. But at what point do they say, "Look at what Kirk's doing. We're not going to touch it"?
It's
so
too
anyway,
late to tell now.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Kirk, he rich now. I won't want to mess this gravy train up. He feeding everybody.
Indeed.
Wait. Hold on here. Is this the barbershop? Is this the barbershop?
Yes, the shop.
It's the barbershop.
Yes.
Wait, I mean, we can't talk straight in the barbershop. Then where can...
Go ahead, Doctor. Go ahead, Doc. You had something else you want to add?
Oh, no. I mean, that was it. That was just a pitch, and again, it may be far left, far right. Excuse me.
No, I think that's a good point, man.
That was it.
I think that was an excellent point. Did you want to finish up what you had to say, Mr. Bennett?
No, I'm good here. I'm not sure if you guys. I know we got seemed like because I know the topic of the show was the idea of basically, can a man really put his be vulnerable with a woman? And it, for me, it just seems it's just so off topic, because I think in a lot of ways, I think that's what a woman was created for. You know what I mean? I mean, to be that well of comfort for a man. So just for my spiritual understanding, that idea of the helpmate, or for a man not to be alone, to have somebody who you could have that confidence in. And so it's like, I think women certainly have the capacity to have that level of empathy and understanding for a man, but the fact that it's not necessarily employed to the extent that it could be. It's almost like it's a gifting. We talked about gifts earlier. It's almost like a gift that's almost being wasted because, woman's capacity for patience, especially if she's raising children and whatnot, the patience that she can have, and the nurturing spirit that she can have. But for some reason, for a lot of guys, they don't feel that with the women that they're with, their wives, their girlfriends, or what have you. So that's something that it is just sad that we have to phrase it in such a way because I literally I saw it literally yesterday where it just seemed like so a couple and they were just in a different place where she just wasn't able to get out of her own um uh desires and not to understand the bigger picture that was going on, the priorities of what was going on. It was just about how she was feeling in the moment and not looking at the 10,000-foot view of what was really important and how they struggled with that. So I know a couple guys. I just had to, just encourage them, just to be patient because you could definitely see that the blood started to boil and the temper was flaring and whatnot. So I just had to pull him aside and just like, hey, bro, you just need to, calm down on this one, and basically let's just get through the day and you stay focused on your task. I think a lot of times what happens is when we get into those exchanges, oftentimes you can be thrown off of your purpose and plan. So having good brothers around you who can sort of refocus you or redirect you to stay on what you need to do. Yeah, she may not be as supportive at this point, or she may not be as cooperative as she needs to be on this point, but you still need to stay on what your purpose is and what you need to do. Hey, let's finish the task that we started here and not get so caught off guard or caught going in a lot of different directions here. Stay grounded, stay focused. Let's get this done. We'll fight this battle tomorrow, but we got to win this one today. And so, so that's something that I've seen just in guys, even the best of guys who try to do the right things. And a lot of times it's like, man, why can't my lady understand that I'm trying to do these things or whatever? But it just seems like a lot of times her demands are such where she just doesn't get where we're trying to do here, get where we're trying to go. So that's a tough place for people. But again, it's unfortunate because again, I think women do have that capacity, the ultimate capacity for that understanding, and a lot of times I don't see it employed properly.
So let me go ahead, Doc.
I'll go last with some points about it, but I want to ask for those who are married or engaged, do you guys have a do you consider your relationship, how you say your wife or your woman or whatever is your friend, your best friend, your homie, your neighbor, your sex partner? Do you guys do that combo where they should know everything?
I don't typically, which actually was a great helper in a lot of ways in my marriage. One of the things that where we really had conflict, especially early on, was trying to live up to a particular expectation, to be everything, to be all things all the time. And things really improved for us when we started to recognize the individuality of the person that we were with and learn how to love that person rather than trying to form and shape them to be all things. So you got to be my best. You got to go with me here. You got to do this and you got to do that. Allowing them to be in the spaces where they need to be, but at the same time, again, focus more on the core issues. Finances, faith, the direction of family, where we're going. Everything else is negotiable. You know, but having that understand, I think that helped to alleviate. But yeah, my wife already knows she's not. There's certain topics that I just don't discuss with my wife. And she actually welcomes the fact that I go to other people. It's like, all right, you need to talk to your boys. You need to go here, whatever, up there. But she may come into the house. She sees just in the very tone of my voice, because some of these discussions get very elevated. She already knows when she comes in who I'm talking to. And it's basically, all right, they going at it. All right, I got it. I'll go into the other room. I'll, entertain myself or whatever. So again, I don't depend on my wife on certain things. But when it comes to, again, important family matters, what happens in these walls of this house, then yeah, I mean, we got to be on the same page. We got to talk about certain things, but she doesn't have to be everything to me. And that again really helped to take the weight and the pressure off of all of us. Like, man, I got to do everything. I got to be here when I don't want to be here or whatever. Again, is this going to impact us 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Is this going to put the family in a financial strain or some kind of strain that is detrimental? If it's no, then you let it go, let them do what they need to do, and we'll get back together on the other things. But when, like I said, my man yesterday, he was trying to do some really important things, and his wife was just really just needling him over just basic things. Like I said, I could just see it just building up, building up, and so I just had to pull him aside. It's like, look, she gonna be who she gonna be, but you have to stay. You have to stay grounded, and you have to stay focused on what you need to do. Again, let's win the day. And we were up into the AM over some of this stuff, but let's win the day and let's take on that battle tomorrow. But if it was allowed to escalate, it would have just got very ugly very quickly. So yeah, but taking that pressure off somebody to be your everything, that's why I hate any of those songs that used to say that you are my everything. It's stupid. No one could be everything to you or should be everything to you. And you should have, I think especially with men, our ability to compartmentalize. I think you should have, even with my male friends, there are conversations I may have with a certain group of guys that I won't have with another group of guys. You know what I mean? It's just, so it really depends on the topic of the situation, the expertise, the experience. Like, I don't talk about married stuff with single guys. I just don't. Because again, you can't, I mean, you might be able to give me some, some perspective. I won't dismiss it. But, the guys who are going through it every day, I mean, yeah, I'm going to get most of my wisdom. I'm going to get most of from people who've actually, who are walking the walk. But, same thing with finances, same thing with pop culture or just interest. I mean, not everybody is made for that. But when I take the collective of who's, in my the circles that I've created over the years, it works. The hardest thing, though, is when I try to get everybody together. So when I get, big birthday party, big, have everybody over, people are usually going to, go into their little silos or pockets. Because again, sometimes the groups are so disconnected from each other. It's hard for them to really form any bonds. But the main thing that keeps them together is me and my daughters. They have similar relationships. My oldest, she's got at least 3 or 4 pockets of people who she does certain things with, and she knows certain people. I can't do this with you, but so she makes plans to get with those people later on. So I think this idea of, oh, we got to do everything together, even with your best friends. It's like, no, you have to have, you have to set some boundaries there. Otherwise, there's pressure on you to be something that you're not, or putting pressure on them to be something that they didn't sign up for.
So my question would be, if it hadn't already been asked, I stepped away for a second. Should a man be vulnerable with a woman, or should he stay quiet? Anybody can jump in at any time.
I mean, listen. If when you say a woman, are we? Let's assume you're married, right?
Yeah. Let's assume you're married.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. I mean, there's a certain amount of exposure that comes with being married to somebody that you trust, right? The amount of that exposure of your vulnerability emotionally is up to you, right? Because I think there could be a sense of overkill if you're leaning on your wife too much. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things that, in my marriage that I could have been exposed, a little vulnerable, because I was worried about something like that, but I wasn't going to tell my wife about it. And if it's something, some other things that I might feel a certain vulnerability in terms of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the kind of things I would, kind of confess to her. I don't know, in a relationship or something that she's doing that makes me feel a certain kind of way, because that's not my experience with a woman, or let's just say, or a sexual thing that you might be, hey, I don't know if I'm really pleasing this woman, or something like that. Now, I'm not saying that happened to me, of course. I'm just fishing for example. I'm just got,
My
But
bad.
I'm just saying, but those are the kind of things that you could be vulnerable in the space. But if the house is getting ready to be foreclosed on and you have a couple of plans, I don't know if I'm telling the honey about that. Or something like that. I mean, I'm gonna just fix it. If I'm worried about pressure on the job or a boss that's a little bit mean or something like that, or I feel it's picking on me or something, I'm not gonna come home and talk to my wife about that. Not at all. I would never do that. So I mean, so I think there's just levels to it. So the answer is, yeah, you're going to be vulnerable naturally if you have a partner that you trust, but you have to also guard it if you're a man. I just think you do. You don't want her to lose that feeling that you're her, but your protection and provider, your problem solving abilities and those kind of things. You don't want your wife to look at you like you're too weak to handle the natural pressures of life. I think that should never go away.
So R-Pain, I'm gonna let whoever's about to go, I'm just let you go and cook. But R-Pain, this is for you because we having serious conversation, R-Pain, and you always have these talks, and then right in the middle of your talk, you'll say, I mean, it ain't happening to me. Like you're this sexual god that has possessed the wheel to stroke one out into the I remember some time back, Brother Payne, that you told me what you walked on the stage in and what song you walked out on. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to give a reminder of what he walked out on. Ladies and gentlemen, R-Pain, don't you take your shirt off. We just gonna let the ladies know what you used to walk out to. Here we go.
My mind's telling me no.
So I just wanted to just put that out there for R-Pain because he's a sexual god.
Can I jump in for 1 second? I gotta test my
absolutely.
Okay, here's the difference between you and everybody else. Everybody else, you Pikachu.
Man, but so anybody else want to jump in with the question? Should a man be vulnerable with his, let's say, woman, wife, or
let me jump in? I'm already on this.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Yes, I think you should be vulnerable because if you cannot open up 100% to your wife and be emotional and everything, who could you be with? Yeah, you got your boys, you got your friends, you got family, and I know some of you might disagree, and that's okay. But I feel you should be able to open up 100% and talk about everything. That's how I was raised, and that's how I always thought.
So let me ask you a question, Grooming, before we go to the doctor or anybody else. You go to your wife and you say, baby, I'm just, I love having sex with you, but for the last few times I just go so limp, and the reason I keep foreplay going is because it just won't get up from me like it used to, right? And she say, baby, I'm here for you, whatever you need me to do, blah, blah, blah. And one day you piss her off and she says to you, you know what, Grooming? And y'all having a barbecue and her friends are walking through the gate. You know what, Grooming? That's why your dick cannot get up. Now, you shared that vulnerable moment with her, and she came back and said, that's why your dick doesn't work. That's why your dick needs to be revived before we have sex. What do you say? Do you take that as a betrayal of your vulnerability, or do you look back and say?
I also believe a lot of things we say during closed door, it stays closed door. Not like we're having a disagreement, let's say at a family barbecue, and we get in an argument, goes, hey, your dick doesn't work anymore. I'm like, bitch, you're not supposed to say that shit out loud.
You would never be the same.
No, I'm like, God damn, you just ripped my nuts off. Why don't you just put a freaking on a barbecue and eat them as you're at it? But I like I said, I will disagree on some things are not supposed to say more than public, and that's one issue I had with several of my exes. Like, listen, we're having some private conversation. Don't spread our private conversations to other people. And maybe I'm too vulnerable sometimes. Maybe it's me trusting them way too much. But I still believe if you're going to trust and love somebody 200%, to a point you're going to put a ring on her and have kids and a house and everything, you have to be transparent.
Grooming, you're talking about in public, but wouldn't that hurt just as much, if not more, if she said that to you privately?
Yeah, it
Oh
would.
God, yeah. If
You know
I
what I
say
mean?
something
So
to her, like say, like, hey, babe, I'm tired. The Kraken is not working tonight. Is out of commission. It needs to get revived, or it needs some fish medicine. But or whatever. Yeah, it would hurt. I'm not gonna deny it. But I think it's gonna hurt a lot more if it was in public than in private. In private, I'm gonna tell her, like, yo, fuck off. You went too far. But in private, I need to keep my composure and be a gentleman and a man, and like not get to that level.
But how do you recover from that? How do you recover from that, though? Yeah, but how do you recover from that? If she told what Black Man just said, if she said to you, you guys have an in your home, you guys just had a blow up, and she just said that to you, how do you recover from that?
That's a good question. I don't know if we could after that.
That's what I'm saying. So the public private issue. I mean, is in that case, it's almost like the end result. It's going to be the same.
Well, no, it lands
differently.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. I was going to say, but it lands differently. If I ask a woman for her phone number, and she says no, but it's just us, the guy's trying to sleep. Hey, be real quiet and hush hush. But then if I had asked in front of 10 people and she said, hell no, that lands differently because of the perception of what all other 10 people are thinking about me. In fact, her saying no is the least of my concerns if I'm worried about what other people think. So what were you saying, grooming, something about your balls or testicles, something about whatever. And so in public, it's like, wow, really? So you just put me out there like that? So hurtful words, home or in public, but it just lands differently when it's with the additional perception of what other people are thinking.
I think you nailed it correctly there, Doc, because I couldn't put it in words, but yes, at home it nails it differently. Like, listen, at home I can at least have a conversation. Listen, you went too far. We can at least talk about how to fix that problem. In public, like, you just did a damage. I don't know if that can be even fixed, because now all my best friends know my dick's not working.
Right. I mean, they probably knew that anyway. But listen, pending how you communicate. No, I'm just saying. No, I mean, they probably knew that, but in a way that's like fella to fella. Because we can say that as men to each other, right? Man, yo little, right? We can say that in a joking, razzing way, but what men represent. So them coming from a woman is like, damn. So that very thing that my guy and I joked about, now to hear from my woman, it just lands differently. And then one more piece I'll say to that, and Mr. Bennett, I know before on some of the shows we talk about communication, and Lost in Translation we talk about communication a lot. Or are you doing the shows? Pending how we communicate, that we might feel a loss of control and an inability to be heard, because those type of words sometimes, or those type of actions where you mess with someone's vulnerability, some people say those are fighting words. You don't talk about someone's mama. You don't talk about
absolutely.
That's only between us. Those are for some people, and I'm not advocating fighting, but what I mean is that comes at a different level. But the same way you have a kid at a grocery store and you really just want to lay into them, but you're in public, like, oh, all right. So same thing. Now I feel stunted. I feel loss of control. I feel intimidated. So I think there's a lot of different things at play when you're in public and feel vulnerable.
Well, right. I can give a good example here. I can give a good example. One of my buddies, veteran, was shot in the groin in Iraq. So his nuts got blown off. So our nickname for him was Half Sack. Yes, BMU. Half Sack was the nickname he got. So we were at a birthday party and his girlfriend got into it, and he says, well, you have one nut, so you're not a man enough. I think she went too far. Let's put it this way. They're not together anymore after that comment.
But see, and some men, let me tell you this, some men can handle that much pressure. If you're in front of your mom, your dad, your brothers, your siblings, right? Or in a bunch of your friends that are just a gathering, a family gathering. And she said, you one nut motherfucker. That's why your dad's got one testicle and we can't have kids now. Bro, I'm like, Mr. Bennett, how do you recover from something so bad?
It could be behind closed doors. I think that knife is cutting just
some men may body slammer. Yeah. I mean, it may get physical with some guys. But yeah, I mean, go ahead, Lost in Translation. I mean, what are your thoughts about vulnerability, brother? Are you
First of
telling your
all,
woman everything?
no, hell no. First of all, if she had came at me with that at the barbecue, I'd have been like,
Started this barbecue shit.
you understand what I'm saying? I'm not taking no mess from nobody. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not. 'Cause I'm gonna tell guys in a minute.
I am tired of being a cream puff.
I am not a cream puff. I will let you know. I will let you go. You understand what I'm saying? Now, as far as me being vulnerable, that ain't something that she needs to know. Just being real, because her faith in me as a protector, is pending upon me handling business and knowing how to handle business. You see what I'm saying? Now, if I need to have some type of an intimate conversation, I'm going to pay somebody like the doc over here, somebody who knows what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And I'm going to talk to him about that, but I'm not going to tell her that. There's certain conversations that I have with certain people, and there's certain things that I'm going to talk about with certain people, but certain people can't handle certain conversations. But if it's something that I need that needs to be worked on, I'm coming to see the doc. You understand what I'm saying? Because my wife didn't build this. You see what I'm saying? And my thing is this: either I'm gonna talk to God, I'm gonna talk to doc, I'm gonna get some help from somebody, but it ain't gonna be from my wife. You understand what I'm saying? Because she's depending on me to be what I need to be. And like I said earlier, there's safety in the multitude of counsel. You understand what I'm saying? Right. And I need her to know I know what I'm doing. If I don't know how to do it, I know who to find out who can help me do it. But I'm still gonna facilitate it. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I'm gonna do. And at the same time, there are probably conversations that my wife needs to have with a doctor. You understand what I'm saying? And somebody like that. I don't have a problem with that. But my thing is, there's certain conversations I'm not gonna have with my wife. I'm gonna pay somebody to do what needs to be done. I'm not gonna do that. The whole meaning of vulnerability means weak. My wife does not need to see me as weak. You see what I'm saying? She needs to trust me. And that's a whole thing too, man. Women like to feel secure. So whenever you mess with that security thing in the back of her mind, it's a wrap after that. It's pretty much over. So that's the reason why I'm not going to have certain conversations with my wife. I just can't.
Can I
How about that?
How
I already have
about
my
fucking that?
So
Can I clarify, or can we clarify what it was interesting you said you put the two together with weakness and vulnerability.
Right.
And is that what we're all talking about, the weakness?
Right.
Or seeing vulnerability as weakness?
Right.
It's
in the definition. It's in the definition in Webster's. If you see it,
I mean, because I wonder if when we're vulnerable, I have a bad shoulder, babe. So if we ever get into a tussle out there, just so you know, I got it. But only you and I know that. But that doesn't mean I'm weak and afraid to get into the fight. If that makes sense, this may not be the best analogy, but I'm wondering if we're putting the two together. And if we are, that's fine. I just want to get.
Yeah, but if my shoulder's bum, and we get into it, and all of a sudden she tells somebody else, "Yeah, you know his shoulder messed up." You know what I mean? Now I'm in trouble because I told her that my shoulder was messed up.
Then is that a trust issue? Like when we saw that video with that woman who smacked her guy, like she shouldn't know you got a weak shoulder.
Right.
But if you have a loving, trusting relationship.
What was the sound effects, Doc?
You don't want her to know you got a bad shoulder because you can't trust it.
Oh my God, bro.
Yeah, and I guess Doc, I kind of see where Doc's going a little bit. Yeah, I'm not. And again, it might be require a little bit more nuance, but I am sensing. I quite haven't put it together yet, but I am sensing there's a difference between a weakness versus a limitation, or just something, or a blind spot that you just don't see in yourself. Like something's weak, it's like it can't stand, or it can't stand up to something, or it's injured, or it's damaged. But again, you might be like you might be 5'4". That's who you are. You can't do anything about that. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a weak. Now again, it may be a weakness when it comes to the NBA or something similar. But a lot of what we find as weaknesses is oftentimes how we feel about it, how it affects us when talked about. But you can say, look, I'm 5'4", I'm 5'7", But if you're not subconscious about it, then it's not a weakness. So I think a lot of it also has to do with how you perceive whatever that is. It could just be, look, I embrace it, I accept it. And in a lot of ways, you almost take away one's ability to then use that as a weapon against you when you don't allow it to dominate your thoughts and actions. So I think a weakness is more so something where I think how you feel about it or how you approach it, and a lot of times the fact that you haven't come to terms with it, I think makes it a vulnerable spot that somebody could then use against you, even your partner. So I do think there is, just when we talk about this, I do think there's an aspect of it that deals with something that's unresolved or damaged or injured that was never repaired, especially when it comes to emotional stuff. There might be things that, again, we talked about trauma earlier, that if you haven't dealt with that yet, then someone could just say something just accidentally, and you just fly off. They're like, what was that for? So I think there's an element of weakness there that deals with something that's damaged or not repaired or not addressed, versus somebody who is just, this is who I am, live with it, accept it, I embrace it as normal, and move on from here. Doctor, does that make sense to you? Am I making that?
It does. Again, I just give you an example. A lot of couples who see me, I encourage them to be vulnerable with each other because it builds and increases intimacy. But then I also tell them there are some things, some zones, some topics that should be honored and respected. So it's not about I won't share. I'm encouraged not to share because I don't know the capacity of the partner to be able to manage. Sometimes we tell our stories and the weight the other person feels like, I should never known no stuff like that. I wish I didn't know that about you. So vulnerable, yes, to a point. Protective by a certain information, not because I don't want to share with you, not because I don't trust you. You increase the trust, you increase the intimacy and the value of the relationship. No trust, and I think it was either Crystal or somebody said it earlier, how can you lay next to someone you don't trust? So certain vulnerabilities can come back to hurt you. So you always want to be careful with what we say. Sex, and I'm not saying this stuff to turn the show left, but if your wife touches you in a certain way, we're like, I don't play that. And she's like, why? What's going on? I remember a time, but that story of being found and messed with and whatever, that's a story that most men don't just want to blurt out. So I'm not going to tell you. But what if you have a wife that's now curious? No, tell me. How come you won't tell me? I'm supposed to be your wife, and how come you won't tell? Then there's the pressure. And then, so now are we sharing our vulnerabilities out of pressure versus out of wanting to have that safe, sincere conversation?
That's manipulation at that point.
Yeah.
I feel manipulated, right? Tricked, pressure.
Yeah. Doctor, is this a new kind of phenomenon, this idea of expressing vulnerability? Is this something, it sounds like something somewhat new? Like, I don't know if the Oprah generation brought this out, or
I think
since the 80s.
I think it's increased over the generations that people have been taught it's okay to cry, it's okay to share, talk more, blah, 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 blah. And that's increased. And then some men, remember earlier when I was saying, oh, you're so fine, you're so beautiful, you touch my heart, you say the right things. I think some men have submitted to that idea that I feel so safe with her that some people talk too much. They feel the connection but they really don't understand that power dynamic is not because you talk so much and share everything.
Yeah, let me say this real quick. Welcome, Uncle Joe, to the show tonight. I appreciate you for being here, my brother. And since you're here, I don't know if you know what's going on with Kirk Franklin and his mom. 52. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Let me turn my shit on. Yeah, can I cuss?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You good?
All right.
52 years. This man thought his dad passed away in 2016 of cancer. He's very resentful of his father. And he finds out just from a childhood friend that a man at the funeral, at her uncle's funeral, his mom's brother's funeral, looks a lot like him. And so the guy got tested, Kirk got tested, and the guy didn't know she was pregnant, and Kirk didn't know that was his dad. And his mom lied to him for 52 years and told him that was his dad that passed away of cancer, which he had no relationship with. They had a very bad relationship. And that's what happened for 52 years. So we're talking about vulnerability. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, wow, I got a few. I'm gonna try not to derail where y'all going first. And most women will get upset when you say this, but it's the truth. It was Chris Rock joke. Men lie the most, women lie the biggest. Every woman I know is walking around with a nuclear weapon of a lie. Every one of them. It may not be hers. It may not be hers. But every woman I know got a nuclear weapon of a lie that belongs to another woman. Every damn one of them. And what you're seeing right now is I'm going to bring it back wide and then come back narrow, is we are now in the age of Aquarius, where all will be known. And the last individual as a demographic to take the stand for her disposition is the American Black woman. And it is now her time. I'm 58, so I represent the baby mama 1.0 generation. Right around 1965, they stopped sending sisters down south when they got pregnant. And this is when it's all started to go off the rails. It all started to lose grip. And what you're seeing now is the listen to the music. You know why I got easy to make this bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks music? Because we lost the respect for our mothers. You remember when your mama could start a fight? It can't start a fight now. Because these boys are coming into the fruition, into the reality that the station of mother has been left to women who are not fit to occupy that station because of their aunties. They running their aunties' plays in a game they should be coaching right now. And the concept of vulnerability, to bring it back around to me, is it reminded me of something my son said when he was little. He was about 5, and he was just beginning to get what I was putting down. He said, "Daddy, big boys cry, but they don't whine, do they?" I said, "That's exactly right. It ain't about the crying in front of your woman. It's that goddamn whining. Your woman is not the place to hang your shit. You see these tools in this graphic? The barbershop is. Your men are. Your woman don't, it's not that your woman doesn't, it's not that she doesn't need to see you vulnerable. She don't need to see you weak. She don't need to see you weak, because now you're asking, and forgive my dog who wants to get out, but his little ass is staying in there. He you gotta put, he's a criminal. He's a criminal. I don't need any of your sympathy. This dog's a criminal. The woman, because she naturally does not have this or this, she has this. And she's going to go through the Rolodex of what stings the most when she get ready. You have to be with a woman that you at least have a basic understanding of how to deal with, so that A, she's not the type to go there or live there, and B, you know how to deal with this woman so that you don't wind up over there. You don't want to wind up, I see no fruit in bickering with a woman. A lot of dudes want to go tit for tat back and forth with a woman. For what? For what? That's how you get into, that's why your mama's an alcoholic. That's how you get into, that's why your uncle touched you. That's how you get there, by getting into the little bickering sessions. I'm telling you, I submit to you, gentlemen, that you have to pick better. We have to pick better. We are the commodity. Ever heard of the great American Black woman shortage? Me neither. They outnumber you by 2 million. You're the commodity. If you're at home in the Oval Office or a dice game, you can conjugate a verb. You look halfway decent in your clothes. You can finish a sentence, and ain't no car. And when the lights come on behind you, you ain't talking about, here, hold this. You don't need her car. Bruh, find 10 of you in the club. She must qualify for you, not the other way around. This is not the babyface generation. Ain't no more soon as I get home from work. Ain't no more all that. Ain't no more begging for cooter. I don't beg for. I tell my sons this. Stop saying you going to get some pussy. You don't go get pussy. You give out dick. And once you figure that out, once you figure that out, that it is you. She incubates life. You give it. She allows it to grow, and it comes out of her body. But because we again have been taught for so long that they are the prize, and the truth is they are. But you have to determine who they is by disqualification. What qualifies you to be in the they? Of a JJ? Well, all of you come with that. That comes standard. That's like walking a car lot going, wow, this one has tires. No, that's standard equipment. I ain't never met one didn't have a JJ. It's a gang of them ain't got peace. That's what you're supposed to be looking for. And if you find a legitimately peaceful woman that is worth spending your life with, bruh, she ain't gonna throw that up in your face. You got to fire him faster is what I'm saying. You got to hit the bricks. Bring your playbook on in the office. You're fired. The first argument we have louder than the radio. You're fired. You're fucking fired. I know who I am. I know I ain't the dude to put my hands on you. I know I'm not the dude to not listen to you. I ain't that jealous nigga. Who the fuck was that you? I was my daddy, nigga. I'm not that dude. Since I'm not that guy, baby, I know he barking. Ain't anybody think about that nigga? Huh? Feed her. But I suppose, but not this nigga right here. Okay, yes, baby. Thank you. Yeah. Where was it? Yeah, dude. Look, I'm it. You it. Y'all it. Y'all it. They're well not. And you know why? Because they refuse. Here's the problem. The good ones refuse to separate themselves. They refuse to separate themselves. And they will pull a sniper rifle out and look at a crowd of dudes and go, I want that one. Us, we throw grenades. There go them hoes over there. That's how we look at them. Look, if Tracy and Keisha is a hoe and you three are out with Tracy and Keisha, that's 5 hoes to us. But you don't want to see that because you got to keep somebody in your circle that has substandard values that you can look at and go, at least I ain't her. I don't know one dude that hang out with niggas that don't take care of their kids if he take care of his. That with niggas that beat on their women if he take care of his. With niggas that's dodging the law if he ain't. We don't do that. We weed the weak ones out of our pack. Sisters don't do that. And until they do, the single ones of them are going to catch the heat. They're going to catch it because now, especially these young dudes don't have a mother to look at to compare you to because they didn't like her. Because they heard you ain't shit and your daddy wasn't shit. They saw they mom. I say this all the time. You ain't got to take your daddy's side, but you got to go get it. He got to take his side. But if you grew up with this, as most of us have heard this phrase. You know them niggas on your daddy's side ain't shit, right? If you grew up with that, bruh, like I grew up with that, I went and found out for myself. Go find out for yourself.
So let me ask a question real quick, Uncle Jeff.
Yes, sir.
And everybody else on the panel, would you guys consider this video I'm about to play a man who is being vulnerable or a man who's whining? Here we go.
I'm so fucking tired of this shit. Fuck this shit. Too many motherfuckers fucking.
I think it looks more like a man who is vulnerable. And let me tell you why I think that. If you're talking about a man who's whining, he does that all the time. He's going to say, life is not fair. and things of that nature instead of handling it. But in his case, his brother just got deleted. And that could be very traumatic for somebody. It's trauma. And everything that went on around him, it does something to him. It could rip you apart. And that's exactly what happened to this guy. He shows, his vulnerability, to this woman. But lucky for him, the woman nurtures him. She understands him because, for one thing, she lives in the same neighborhood. She knows where he's coming from. So, yeah, I think it's a vulnerability. Also, what I want to say earlier when Blackman, you asked about vulnerability.
Yes, sir.
I say you have to ask yourself, do you trust your woman to share this information with her? Just as long as you are human, you will always have a vulnerable spot on your body and in your mind. And even the most alpha of males can be vulnerable. Believe me. So you have to ask yourself this question: can you trust that woman? What do you think she's going to do if you pour your heart out to her? Is she going to berate you? Is she going to share your secrets out to her friends, out to social media? Or will she do like what Neil Long's character did? To understand him, to nurture him, to give him a hug, to make him understand, look, I'm in the same neighborhood as you are. I know how you feel. She let him vent out his vulnerability, out his frustrations, out his feelings. She stood there and listened without an angry face, without a laughter. Because again, she understands. Nurturing. I think that's what a wife or a good girlfriend would do for a man, regardless of what state he's in. Whether if he's in his happiest mood or if he's in his saddest mood. I think that's what I got.
Okay, Dr. Nakumbe. I know he's not here. He dropped out to take care of the dog, but
okay. Well, I was going to ask. Well,
go ahead.
A few things to consider. In our current society, I think there's a movement for men to be seen as weak. I mean, as many men that can be deleted, removed, washed down, whatever you want to call it. So I think there's an actual movement. And so you have your regular teasing, whatever, you're soft. You look like a little bitch right now. But before, I think that video you showed would have been something positive. Behind closed doors, back to what Dr. Steele was saying, with someone that they feel safe with each other. And she understands the assignment. She understands her role and how she can support him. But now, because of this movement, I think even certain women would now look at that person with disgust. I mean, there's always been that hint of you sound and look weak. But I think even more so now that women who are not with the assignment, so to speak, will charge that man with being weak and sensitive. So then men are clamoring up more. Here's the challenge I have for that. You hold all that in to where you can't be vulnerable and you can't share and you can't do this and you can't do that. Eventually, that's coming out somewhere. That's either coming out through your alcohol use, your weed use, your abuse of sex, your abuse of the relationship. It's coming out somewhere, somehow. You don't have to believe me, but it's going to come out somewhere at some point. And so I was going to ask Uncle there when he would, to his point, would he teach his son or show his son, or maybe teach? Because if son is being taught, you don't go ask, you give. Are the kids ever being taught how they can or should be vulnerable? Or is that not even a lesson?
You know what, Doc? You know what I think, Doc? I think we should probably start leaning on sons coming to their fathers for advice. You know what I mean? Because it fosters some a level of wisdom that in practice, you know what I'm saying? You can talk to your dad about different stuff and say, hey, dad, look, this is what's going on. And that should be the person that you open up to, because he doesn't have a dog in the fight to dog you out. His best you are in his best interest to keep his lineage in. He has some skin in the game. I'm not going to tell anybody anything about me if they can't do anything about it, because it seems like whining. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is this: if my son came to me and said, Dad, I'm having an issue, I'm going to sit him down and say, talk to me, son. You know what I mean? And when he becomes a father, I want him to be able to tell his son, talk to me, son. You see what I'm saying? And we create a tradition of men helping men. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Hey, if you can't talk to nobody else, come talk to your father. You know what I mean? And I think we need to start making that a practice and making sure that we tie into our sons and our daughters in certain situations, say, hey, look, if you can't talk to nobody else, come talk to me. You see what I'm saying? Because we have a vested interest in your survival. Nobody else does. They'll cash in the insurance money and that's it. Now, in certain situations where you don't have a father, you need to find somebody who still has a vested interest in your well-being. That is the person that you need to talk to, and make sure that is somebody who's going to make sure that you have the ability to open up to that particular person without them using it and twisting it against you. But ideally, your father should be the one that you reach out to.
Right. I love that. And so getting permission, so teaching your boys how to that they have permission to approach and to have those conversations. And not only that, but I would say also modeling what that looks like, because the emotions right now, are they necessary or appropriate? Are they even needed? You're crying over what? So I think what you said was spot on. I think that's what Mr. Bennett was saying earlier, picking and choosing who do you go to. So that was spot on. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me ask this question real quick, because I think a lot of fathers deal with it when you deal with fathers that dealt with it. And I think that, when I grew up, my dad was very stern. But you knew if somebody messed with you, my daddy was going to go kick some ass. You knew if I had a problem and I knew something was going on in my life, like, Lost in Translation said, I knew I could go to my mama for certain things. But if I wanted to get something done, or I wanted something to be taken care of, I go to daddy. Daddy, let me tell you what happened. And I remember this time, I was probably 8th grade maybe, and we had a football game. And after the game, we went 50-yard line to clap hands with them. We had beat the brakes off their ass. And we went to, clap hands with them, shake hands and get it over with. And while we were shaking hands, when I turned around, one of the kids on the team, because I was talking mad shit during the game, but one of the kids on the team turned around and hit me hard as shit with a helmet.
Oh, my gosh.
And I remember, I still got the scar on the back of my head. I remember when he hit me, I remember getting dizzy. I remember turning around trying to swing, but my mind was saying swing, but my body wasn't doing anything. And I remember one of the coaches, after he hit me, I remember the assistant coach grabbed me and slung me over, like their coach, like slung me over, like, hey, stop tried to play it off like it was me. And I remember my dad coming down those bleachers, and I remember that night, I remember my daddy come down them damn bleachers. It was bad. And my daddy was fighting and swinging, and I'll never forget that. And I knew then, damn, my dad don't really sit down and say, son, I love you, or give me a hug. But I know if I'm in a bad situation, daddy coming. And and I think I've changed for my kids, because I used to have that stern mindset too, where I did a lot of things like my dad, but I've learned to evolve from what my dad was, because my dad is rooted in trauma. And so I had to learn how to know I can operate from someone who's rooted in trauma like that. I have to go and do it a different way. And so I'll talk to my kids, but my kids also know if something happens, I'm going to get my daddy. My daddy is my protector. My daddy going to tear this place up. If somebody harms me, put their hands on me. My daughters know if somebody touch them, it'll be Black Men Unfiltered. I'll be doing the show from Cell Block C. Because I love my babies and I protect my babies. So, in saying that, I agree with you, Lost in Translation. And I also agree with you, Dr. Nkumbe, as well, that, sometimes, especially as a father, you want to have that. You want to project that, right? Like the young guy came to date my daughter, come to my door, Mr. Bennett. And he said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "You can't talk. What you mumbling for?" He ain't no mumbling. I said, "Well, speak up. How are you doing, sir?" He tried to fist bump me. I shook his hand. And I didn't mean to intimidate him by squeezing his hand, but I teach the young man
the gorilla grip.
Exactly. And my daughter knew. My daughter wasn't embarrassed or ashamed. She knew my dad is protecting me. He's trying to see who this man is and what he's about. So if something happens, he knows. And he asked her. My daughter came back and told me. She said, Dad, when I got in the car, he said, "Why was your daddy doing that to me?" She said, "Well, first of all," he said, "Why your daddy walked around my car?" She said, "First of all, my daddy got your license plate number. He know what kind of car you drive. He know who you are. He asked you all those questions to know who you are in case he has to come look for you." And she said, so we have to have a good date, and I can't come in here any different than I was when I left. And he understood it. And they're still dating to this day. I don't like it. But they're still dating to this day. So I'll leave it at that. You guys can go ahead and cook. But I think I just wanted to throw those things out there.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please tell me you did the bad boy thing.
I did not. I didn't have anybody here.
Come on, man. You disappoint me.
I didn't have anybody to do that. However, I was cleaning my 9mm one time.
That's my man.
Yeah. And but I don't want to scare the young man. I want to be able to talk to the young man as well. I just don't want him to think he's finna come in here thinking my daughter is a pussy surplus, because see, that's not gonna happen. And so if my daughter decides to do that, she makes her own decision when she becomes an adult. But I don't want you to think, because in this day and time, man, I'm telling you, Dr. Nkumbe, I saw some numbers that staggered me. I was going to talk to you offline about this, but it's right there now. I saw a lady that does therapy, and she said some of the young girls that she deals with that have sex addictions at 11 years old, I did not know they go that low. She said that between the ages of 11 and 14, the average girl that's is sexually active has at least 10 to 11 bodies already.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was saying about Kirk's mom. Yeah, I mean, because when someone wrote she was a 304, and I said, well, back then, 5 generations.
Wow.
If she was doing it at 15, 16, 17, I said, where did she get that from? Most likely, if she had been handled or touched, because of all the things that go with it, I wonder if she was then active because of that whole thing you just said.
So wait a minute. So Dr. Nkumbe, I'm gonna say this so we can move on. So we're saying this lady that did this thing, I was in awe, because I literally heard this woman say between 11, Mr. Bennett, and 14, that some girls that are sexually active, it's almost becoming the majority, have 10 to 11 bodies on them at 11 years old, guys, 11 to 14 years old. So that means when they're 40, it's going to be 70. Let's just look at the numbers.
And Brittany Renner says she had 35 on her already.
35, and she
that's a lie.
She has more bodies than her age. She's 30, and she got more bodies than how old she is. She's 5 years over her age and bodies.
Right. Well, I think those numbers are going. Some of it seems like it's going up. Here's the debate. Few earlier generations, it was just more hush hush. The parent who knew the family friend was tampering with, but they didn't say anything. Now you can be right there in the living room, and I'm not saying anything. And so the debate is it really going up in numbers, or has it always been that way? Just let's talk about it. And then the other thing is now the most modern generation, they are being more active because they don't have that parent to go talk to. They're encouraged to go to school and talk about their identity, but they don't have that resource to actually talk about, man, I've been traumatized or I've been tampered with, and how do I not engage more? I do have one question for you, and actually for a comment for those listening here now and on the replay. Please do consider how you put the fear of goodness and God in your kids in the name of protection, because that itself could also be a traumatic or let's take away let's take away the word trauma, and we'll use, it could be an experience that messes with their sense of safety. And that's what really trauma is. Anytime we have an experience where our sense of safety. So even though we say, and we brandish our weapon and clean it and do whatever, and baby girl, let me tell you, son, let me tell you, if anyone ever, and that's awesome, but please consider this also. How do you balance that with them also wondering, if I tell you and you go to jail, my protection is gone. If I tell you and you delete someone, our family is broken. So please consider, as good as it feels to say that, you must, I implore you, you must balance it with, I'm not trying to go, and it could be a totally different conversation, because it will lock in their brain, and some of them won't tell you because they're honoring you and they feel too afraid to lose you.
Hey,
So
you know what?
keep
I'm always open for that. I'm not closed-minded. That's a great perspective. Where your kids, where they want to tell you something, but they don't want to tell you something because they know you're going to jail. And I think, and you know what? You said something. I think I don't know why. I don't know if you over here reading in my book or what, but because my mom is that way with me. We had something happen in our family with my sister. One of I have a black sheep. I ain't gonna say black sheep. I love my sister, but I have a sister that chooses the bad guy. She want to be with the bad boy. And one night my mom confronted him about putting his hands on my sister. Now, nobody told me because they know my elevator don't go all the way up to the top. And so they keep things away from me, and it pisses me off. But my mama said, he pulled a knife on my mom or something, said he'll cut my mom. He said it or did it, one of the two. All I remember is just blacking out because because they told me, hey, listen, now don't get mad. My sister said, my mama told me not to tell you. But he said he gonna cut mama. And that's all I needed. And I had all the fuel I needed. And I asked my mom later on when everything settled, I said, Mama, why didn't you call me? And she said, well, your daddy already a damn fool. She said, I didn't need two damn fools. And she said, we don't call you because what you just said, Dr. Nkumbe. She said, I don't call you because I know when you get here, when you're angry, you don't think. She said, you're going straight to jail. And that's so what you saying that just brings things full circle for me, because I do think sometimes I get to that point where people don't want to call me because they know I'm coming with bad intentions. And I think it's more of a protective thing, seeing that we talked about this before, me, you, Mr. Bennett, and so on. We're talking about how my grandfather and my father was with us growing up, being huge protectors. And we knew that when daddy or granddaddy was coming, it's about to be a misunderstanding. And so I think that I grew up in that same situation, movingfurniture.com, if something were to happen with my kids or anybody in my family. So yeah, you hit it right on the head, man. I got to work on that, brother. I got to work on that.
I mean, we all do. And here's one tip, a trick or tip. One of the ways you can balance that, I'll take them out, blah, 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 privately, because it's almost like that secret, like you're their cloak. I'm not trying to go to jail, mess up everything, but seriously, because Pops will get, I'll blow the roof off. But seriously, if anything does happen, you can let me know. I may be angry, whatever you might see, all that, but I'll do what I can. You don't want to get locked into something, but I'll do what I can to tone it down and be wise before I approach. Is that fair? Is that a deal? Boom. So that way they hear, honesty, and you've already witnessed, I'll blow up. I'm not denying that. Kind of secret, I'm not trying to lose everything. And that just helps them a little bit with, okay, Dad, can I tell you something that you might blow up on, but remember our agreement? Well, it depends on what it is, and today's not the good day to tell me. But yeah, go ahead and tell me. So anyway, that's just a tip if it helps.
Right, and Trey just put the thing that is my Achilles heel right there. He said, I understand the protection, but how does the person suffer? That's one of my biggest problems. If you put your hand on my sister and I calm down and I breathe and I say, okay, I'm going to be the man. I'm going to step up to the plate, and there's no consequences for his actions. I think that's what bothers me the most. And I think that will bother probably anybody else. Anybody else want to jump in here?
Yeah. Y'all see
Mr.
the movie
Bennett?
The Equalizer?
Yeah,
Y'all see
absolutely.
the movie The Equalizer?
Right.
You remember the scene,
Yeah.
and I'm not condoning violence, but remember the scene where the lady got robbed in the store and they took her ring? And you don't see him going out to do anything other than the next scene he's cleaning off the hammer and putting it back on.
Put
the ring back in the cash in. She was like, "Oh, who did this?" Had no idea. So again, I'm not condoning violence, but I'm saying how we report that to our loved ones. How do we share that with them?
Okay, I got you.
Sometimes nothing needs to be said. Just okay.
So what you do is you tell them, "I know a guy." You know what I'm saying? I'm calling in the wolf. If y'all remember Pulp Fiction,
yeah,
I'm calling in the wolf. Shit, that's all you had to say.
That's all. Yeah,
you calling in the wolf?
Yeah, I'm
You know what
calling
I'm
Mr.
saying?
Bennett.
That's right.
I'm calling Mr. Bennett. I know a guy, Mr. Bennett.
I know a guy.
Yeah.
And I think it depends on your family. You know, depending on your family history and background, there are some people that actually need to hear, you're going to take care of this, right? You're not going to lay down like no. So they actually need to hear. That's what gets them motivated that something is being done. So I don't want to get it twisted. There are some families where they actually do better by knowing you're going to take action. How you deal with it afterwards is on you, but just consider that fear for some people.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Dr. Nkumbe, for that, man. And everything that you do as well, man. So what I want to do, guys, I want to keep you as long as I don't want to keep you any longer than I have to, but I do want to get some final thoughts on the show and what you guys thought. We'll start with Dr. Steele and go all the way around, and Dr. Nkumbe, we'll let you go last with a clinical perspective of everything that we've talked about tonight. Dr. Steele, thank you for coming in tonight. Thank you for being on the panel tonight, and you're welcome anytime. I'll start sending you the links if you're available.
Thank you.
I would love to have you. So go ahead, sir. Let us know what is your perspective on tonight's show.
Well, what we saw from Cuda Goodings Jr.'s character to what we saw from Kirk Franklin, it shows the vulnerability of men. Of course, Kirk Franklin's situation is real. We are all vulnerable. The thing is, are we going to guard it? Are we going to show it to people who we trust? And who can we trust with it? When you share your feelings, you want to share your feelings with the ones who are the closest, because they're more likely to be the ones who really understands you and try to make you feel better by nurturing you. I think a good wife is capable of doing that. I'll stop right there.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Steele, for those words. I appreciate you, man. And like I said, again, I'll send you some links to the show so you can get in here and give you a great perspective. I appreciate you. So grooming and reviews, what are your thoughts on the vulnerability and what we've basically talked about tonight about the situation with Kirk Franklin and so on and so forth?
I still stay with my original statement I said earlier. I think you should be open, transparent. If you're not transparent and open and things come up, little demons in the closet, skeletons, those skeletons can bite you in the ass or even in the dick pretty hard. I know some of you guys disagree with me on that, and that's fine. We can disagree to agree. But I will stick to my guns with that. Trust is open. Trust can be said in different ways. I will stick to my guns and say I will be open. Even if my dick doesn't work, I will still tell her what I feel.
All right. I appreciate you, my brother. Mr. Bennett,
Oh,
what are your thoughts on the show tonight?
Nice topic tonight. I really appreciated Dr. Seal's comments on that sense of vulnerability. But what I also wanted to go back to was the difference between being vulnerable and whining. And I've always found with people who whine, one is coming from a standpoint of, do you want to? Are you looking for a solution? I know one thing I do say to my daughters when they come in. A lot of times they're venting, and I'll just ask them, because they've gotten upset with me when I try to offer a solution. It's like, are you here to whine? Do you need to vent? If so, then I'll just shut up and I'll just listen to you. I'll give you the floor. You just go ahead and do it. But if you don't want me addressed, then say it now, because you know what I'm going to do, because that's what I'm about. I'm like, I solve problems, and let's move on from here. So what's your pick? So a lot of times people who whine is usually coming from a place where they're simply not looking for solutions, or they have a pattern of behavior that created the situation in the first place, and now they're complaining about it because, so again, the decisions that they're making haven't been wise, and now it's just this domino effect of you created, you're complaining about a situation that you caused, when there might have been wisdom, there might have been people there who could have, prevented you from going in that direction. You chose not to, and that's the only thing you have left, because you don't have any power to change or to modify a situation. So for me, I think that's for me, that's where whining, that's what differentiates it for me. If someone comes and says, look, I have a situation, what can I do to make this right? Then we can come from that. Then the person's being vulnerable, but they're being transparent. I have a financial problem. I have a legal problem, or whatever. Where do we go from here? Do you want to take the wise counsel that comes with, and it doesn't have to come from me. I'm saying whoever you go to, are you going to the places where you can find a solution? That to me is a major difference between being vulnerable and just whining and complaining, because again, that's the only thing you have left. And you're not with most of those people who whine, they're not willing to do what's right. You can give them all the advice in the world. It's like, people come to me for diet advice and stuff, or what. I said, look, these are the foods you need to be eating. If you don't want to eat the food, the bottom line is they don't want to make the changes to their diet and to their lifestyle. They don't want to put the exercise. They don't want to put the work in to change their situation. So that's really what it was. But and to illustrate that again, Kirk, what he did when he foresaw a problem, he went for a solution. He got the DNA testing done. He dotted his P's and Q's to get the solutions that he needed to come to a resolution for that situation. So that, to me, that is a person who was in a vulnerable state, but he didn't lose it all. He took the actions that he could get the clarity. Now he still's got the work to do to, how can you go from here? Can he have a relationship with his mom or whatever comes from here? That's still to be determined. But I see nothing wrong with a person when you're in a situation. You take the action necessary to see how can I make the most of this situation? How can I improve it? How can I get out of it? And if a man can do that, and if he can find people, and again, it may not come from your wife. I would love it if it could come from the wife. I mean, really, if you can find someone like that, consider yourself doubly blessed if you could find that. But that may come from other people's. Now, where your wife can come in, again, with mine, she'll be like, look, you need to talk to them. Like, I'm going to see so-and-so. Right? I'll leave the light on for you. Want to make you a plate, leave it out for you when you get back, whatever. I mean, it's like that. There's guys who come to me. Guys have told me. My wife said, I need to go to Dr. Bennett or Mr. Bennett or whatever, just throw my moniker out there, but I need to go talk to Paul. Or you need to go talk to Paul. You know what I mean? So that a wife, if she can't be the one to give you the answer, help you find the answer, at least point you in the right direction, or support your decisions. Look, I need to go see somebody, a professional. What can I do to make it better? Hey, if I got to work an extra shift so we can play for, you might not be able to afford the counseling fees, or the money situation. What do I do? Do I need to sell off some stocks so you can go see this first? I mean, again, you support the decisions that help your man move on and do what he needs to do. If you can't be the answer, can you at least clear the path to make what he has to do easier? And I think as long as a wife is operating in that vein, then I think you got a good one. But if you hit the pull the lever and you hit jackpot and you get everything in one shot, then you are again blessed beyond men. And you know that Proverbs 31 wife, you got that. But sometimes we get that Proverbs 29.5, and then the rest you're just gonna have to get. You're just gonna get someone else. 30, you get all 31 out of 31. Hey, but you may get half of that, and be content with that. But go to where you need to get the rest. Not just sit and land my plane there.
All right, man. Thank you so much, Mr. Bennett. Again, I gave you your praises earlier before you came by thanking you for leading our sports show on Wednesday. I appreciate you so much, man.
Not a problem.
And
Not a
everything
problem.
you do. Also,
Yes,
man,
sir.
thank you for reaching out for me, man. One day I was just riding along and I looked down at my phone and Doctor, because I think these kind of things need to be talked about. Mr. Bennett has sent me a message. He said, man, I ain't texting about nothing else today. I just want to see how you're doing. How are you? And so I thank you so much for that, man. Dr. Nakumbe does the same thing as well.
Yeah.
Man, how are you? Lost in
And
translation.
I do that intentionally. I started doing that a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because just as men, a lot of times we don't necessarily want to deal with what's really going on. So we'll talk about everything else. How's the wife? How's the kids? How's the job? The whatever. I say, no, I didn't call you for that.
Right.
How are you doing?
Right.
You know, so I'm like, cut all the stuff that we mask. This, the things. I want to get to the rip because I know if you're right, then everything else is going to be right. But if you're not right, then all that other stuff's going to be. So that was just something. That was just a tactic because I saw a lot of brothers doing that with me. Oh man, I'm doing my thing. Yeah, I'm going here and doing it. No, how are you doing?
Right.
And then that just all the walls. That just takes off all the protective layers, and now we can get to the real.
Yep.
Rather than wasting 2 hours talking about sports and this team, my team lost and whatnot. No, forget all that.
Yeah. And I want to keep that up too, man, because I hit Lost in Translation. Hey, brother, how are you? Because I remember the time Lost in Translation said, man, I'm just exhausted, bro. I can't sleep. And I said, man, I was texting him. I was wearing his ass out. Hey, Lost in Translation, you good? How are you feeling? You know, Dr. Nkumbe, same thing. I looked down at my phone. Hey, brother, I know you out of town. But he said you're far away from 3K, bro. I just wanted to check on you, congratulate you. Right. Like if it's something to congratulate me on, he'll do that, or he'll call and check on me or text me and be like, hey, bro, how you doing? So I think we need to keep that up, man. I think we all need to stay in touch with each other because like Mr. Payne, same thing. How are you, Mr. Payne? You weren't feeling well. You've been down for a few weeks. Well, I want to know what's going on with you. You know, tell me.
Man, I'm still down.
Yeah, man. Well, I hope you get better, bro.
Man.
Now,
I not to cut you off, but
I told you what to do 3 weeks ago, and you didn't. You gotta eat some ass.
See, he might be whining. See, he's whining. He whining.
You gotta eat some. You whining. I told you go eat some ass. When you eat that ass, you eat you some of that ass, Dr. Payne. We'll start calling you Dr. Payne. You eat some of that ass. That I'm telling you, will not be sick no more. You be coming on here all jittery, light on in the background. You'll be so lit up. Look at Lost in Translation. He felt that out there. Look how he licked his lips.
Hold on, let me give you some points before we start getting into that area of the body and stuff. Hold on, because some people might tune out right now. So
go ahead.
Yeah, all right, cool. So clinical perspective, absolutely. Be mindful of who you're being supportive with. I asked that question earlier. Do you have a one-stop shop relationship? Remember those old TVs that had the DVD, TV, cable all in one, but if one part of it broke, you had to turn the whole thing in while they get repairs, then you have nothing, right? But build agreements. I would suggest people build agreements on what vulnerability looks like. What are the boundaries to vulnerability? Because partners may feel slighted, like you're robbing them and cheating them. You worked really hard to get that super ultra caring person, but then you tell them mind your damn business. So that's confusing for that partner. You look for that wife who's like, man, I just want you to be nurturing and caring. Part of caring is knowing, in her mind is knowing, but you shut me out. That's confusing. So just be mindful of how to have those conversations on what those boundaries are for you, what the limits are to your vulnerabilities. The flip side of that, and especially in our modern day, and this is what I've been telling kids, nobody's coming for you. Nobody is coming for you. You have to learn how to get up on your own. You have to learn how to get up on your own. And if that means getting up is just enough to crawl or slide across, you have to do that on your own. We've always been in the doggy eat. Somebody told me the right way. I always say doggy dog world, but
Doggy
dog right world. We've always been
because
that
he's
way.
thinking about because he's thinking about doggy style. That's what.
Yeah, but I say we're triple down on that now, where nobody gives a damn. If you think about it, when you tell your problems, how many people actually listen? Listen to out of caring versus beating you to the punchline or listening and then putting in their story. You know, I. Ooh, me too. There was a time when okay. So anyway, doesn't mean you can't ask for help. But I strongly suggest you always keep in mind at the end of the day, there are two people to watch out for. The one that seems like you can bond together and you trauma bond and you get it. I've been abused. You've been abused. We both have vulnerabilities. We're safe together. But if any of you, one of you want to grow, see how the other one is holding on? And I know these are just my fingers, fat knuckles, but you see how one wants to grow past this? Because we're not our vulnerabilities. We're not our trauma. We're not those people. But trauma bond, and then when you want to grow or one of you wants to grow, the other one is actually holding you down, reinforcing your pain. You stay in that pain together. So when you say, you want a wife that you can be vulnerable with, or you want a wife who understands that you won't be, I think it needs to be crystal clear. You both understand who you have, because one might consider it as deceit, manipulation, fraud, fuckery, excuse the language, but trickery, like of all the people you don't trust me, it might be 10 years later that the stimuli hits, like something that you would want to talk about. And now they waited 10 years only to find out, I ain't telling you shit. Name one time I was going to tell you something. Well, we never had this conversation. Exactly. Well, so that was intentional? Hell yeah. Now they feel slighted. So anyway, my point is, and hopefully a takeaway for anyone, have those agreements early, have those understandings, but it's not too late. Just be clear on your boundaries as far as what vulnerability means to you. Just because I tell you this does not mean I'm weak. Do not get the two confused.
Right.
And know that if you're vulnerable or not, doesn't mean you're just going to be rescued and saved and healed. That's it.
All right, man. I appreciate that clinical perspective. All right, we got R Pain, then we'll do Sweet Nasty last. R Pain, what do you got?
Well, just on the on Cuba Gooden, right? I mean, I saw his reaction, his vulnerability, extreme, but I paid attention to, I think it was Nia Long.
Yeah.
Her reaction was interesting because that's the kind of reaction a woman would have surprised that her man is like swinging on the air. I think she did a good job of playing the reaction. And we didn't see the whole clip, but just the way she was looking at him, because it had to be freaking her out. You know what I'm saying? So in that circumstance, he'll get away with it because I think she understood where he was coming from.
Right.
So that's the difference. So I like that whole thing. But how often? So look at that circumstance. How often would he be able to go to the well with that kind of reaction or different circumstances with her? That one time, I could dig it. But if but how often would he be able to get to actually do that? So that's why I think it's always, you got to be guarded with how you show your vulnerability to your lady. He would get a pass with that because she know what happened to him, what drove him to that point. Okay, and so that's cool, but he can't keep reacting that way to different things that's going on in his life, not without doing something where he has to get away from it.
Right. And when I went home from my aunt's funeral, Mr. Ben and Dr. Nakumbe especially, and Coach K, shout out to her. They was like, listen, black man, when you go home, you have to grieve. You got to let that out. You cannot walk around with that pain in you. And I sat right here in their face and I said, okay, you're right. Yeah, I'm gonna let it out. And I got there for the wake. And I said, and when I saw her for the first time, it broke me. And, internally, I say, whoa, I couldn't handle it. It just broke me. I feel like I shattered as a person. But at the same time, I kept the same face, the same posture. I went and hugged my grandmother because she was just out of it. My mom was just out of it. And so the next day I said, I'm ready. I got over it last night. I'm good. And I guess that you get to a point, man. My mom grabbed my hand and walked me up to the couch. She said, you need to say your goodbyes. You can't just walk by it and not say it. And so we walked up there, man. And I looked around at my family, and I know everybody looking for me to be, you know, that guy. And man, I looked down in there, man, and I just broke. Like it was bad. It was really bad. And at that point, I felt a weakness right there, because I was like, God damn it, you know, people going, you know, they're gonna think I'm weak, right? People are really gonna think I'm weak. I'm supposed to be the one that don't do this. I'm supposed to be the one walking my grandmother up here and my mom, my siblings, and it just didn't go that way, man. So I'm letting people know, man, no matter how hard or tough you can be, it's always something out there that can break you, and it did. My brother was like, man, you just gotta let that shit out, bro. And me and my brother just sat there, and we just went to the cat. He walked up beside my mom, and we just let it out, bro. We just let it go. And I heard anything back from, about it, or, anybody saying, oh man, you broke down. So that was a relief, because all these years I didn't cry at funerals. And if I did, I go to the bathroom, go sit in the car, right? Didn't want to show that. So Dr. Nkumbe, I was hard-headed, but it just did it on its own. It just came naturally.
But before anybody else goes, see, the issue is, if you're the alpha guy around your family and you break like that, you actually give everybody else license to let it go. And that's the important part. If you look at it from that standpoint, if it is him, I got license to let it go as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Payne. All right, so we got Sweet Nasty is next. Sweet Nasty, what you got, man? What's your final thoughts?
Here's my final thought. I've read this proverb several times, and each time I get something different from it. Mm-hmm. It's Proverbs 4:23.
Come on.
Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it.
Amen.
The reason why I say this is because everybody has a heart, and you have to protect what goes in it, because everything that you do, how you see the world, how you perceive the world, comes from it. So with that being said, being a leader and a protector, we also know that those who are closest to us have to guard their heart as well. So when I stated earlier, there are certain things I don't want to share with my wife. That's actually me protecting her from me. You see what I'm saying? There are certain things that my wife shouldn't have to carry, and certain things that she should not have to be burdened with. You know what I mean? And a woman's main concern is security and safety. But if for some reason she knows that there's a chink in the armor, it messes with her safety and her security, because it's hard for you to listen to someone and for them to protect you if you don't respect them, and you don't respect their judgment, and you don't respect their wisdom. So you can't fully protect them. So there are certain instances where you want to guard your own heart, and you also want to guard the people around you the closest, because you don't want to put that extra stuff on them as well. You see what I'm saying? Because I want my wife to be sweet. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm going to have to draw on her to soothe me when I need it to be soothed, when I have a hard day. You see what I'm saying? And at the same time, when she needs to be cared on or needs to be loved on, that's when I kick in and give her what she needs. You see what I'm saying? But I don't want to have to taint that element of her and her sweetness with the nastiness and the grind that men have to go through every day. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's probably the reason why guys are having a hard time relating with today's modern woman, is because she's had to take on a whole lot of world's nastiness. You see what I'm saying? And it is no longer appealing to men, because it's no longer familiar with them. Because at some point in time, they were used to their mother, saying, hey, I'm nurturing you. This, and he goes out into the world and he looks for that. But since these women have had to take on certain roles, they have taken on this taste that men don't have a particular desire for. It looks like something they want, but it does not taste like something that is beneficial to them. So I say this to say this, and I'm gonna wrap everything up. Sometimes you have to protect others from yourself with your own burdens. And sometimes you want other people to come to you and say, hey, look, I got you. I'm built for this. Men are built for a certain level amount of burden. If you're any kind of man, and if you've had any type of adversity, you're built for this. You see what I'm saying? And that's the reason why your woman chose you, because she believed that you were built for this. Now, I will say this to men in temperance, because I can't do this without good conscience. If ever a time that you need help, lean on your brothers. That's what they're here for. You see what I'm saying? Your woman does not always have to know where you're weak and when you're weak. Just say, hey, baby, I need to talk to Black man. I need to talk to Doc for a minute. There's some things I need to get off my mind. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? And if she says, hey, is there anything I can do? You know what? There's nothing that you can do at this particular point in time. This is something that I have to handle. Eventually, I'll share it with you later. But at this point, this is something that I need to handle right now. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, you're not exactly pushing her away, but at the same time, you're still handling what you need to have handled. Because ultimately, you're there to protect her and you're there to protect your family. So you have to do your self-service and make sure that you reach out to your brothers and make sure that we don't put more on each other than we can bear. That's the reason why iron sharpens iron and steel sharpens steel. You see what I'm saying? Because we get better as we get older. So that's my whole thing. Make sure that you don't give other people more than they could bear, because we're actually built for this.
Yeah, and you know what? To add to that, man, that was amazing. When it comes to your brothers, I know I can call Mr. Bennett. I ain't got to ask him. Because you know what? Because Mr. Bennett shows me what kind of man he is every time I see him. Every time I talk with him, I know what kind of man he is. I know if I'm on bad times and something's going on in my head, I can call Mr. Bennett. He's going to answer. He's going to listen. I know I can call Dr. Nkumbe. He said, hey, what's up, man? Hey, hold on a second. Hey, I got I got a patient in here. Hey, I'm almost done. Hey, give me just a second. I'm call you right back. Next thing you know, look at the phone. There he is. Right? I know I can call Lost in Translation. I know it. I know I can call him. Right? Dr. Steele, I know I can reach out to Dr. Steele and he'll have a word for me. Our pain, same thing. We laugh, we joke around, but when it gets real, the kind of men you want to be around is the men that never had to prove themselves to you because of who they are. Wow. Their character spoke for them, not their voices. And that's why I love each and every one of you guys, man. Because you guys, I know I can call you and I didn't have to build that with you. It came with you. Yeah. So I appreciate each and every one of you, Mr. Bennett, Our Pain, Lost in Translation, Dr. Nkumbe, Dr. Steele. Thank you so much for being the men that you are. And let's continue this journey on having these conversations, laughing, being real about it and really getting a perspective from a doctor's perspective with having Dr. Nkumbe here and just having these conversations, man. I appreciate it. I really do, man. And so this has been another great show tonight, man. We'll be here again on Tuesday for Talk That Talk Tuesday. And Talk That Talk Tuesday is going to be tough. Tuesday, we're talking about over-sexualizing our children. That's going to be a tough one. And so because I think that's where we are today. With these doctor, when I went to Jamaica, guys, let me say this before we get out of here. Dr. Nkumbe, and I definitely wanted to say Mr. Bennett, because you were the last person that went to Jamaica. You were not lying, Mr. Bennett. You were not lying. There were many, 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 many women there with real nice rocks on their fingers, and they were clowning. Yeah. I mean, when I tell you, I said, "Oh no!" Let me tell you what happened. I hope the people don't hear me. They had this thing where the people who were visiting Jamaica, they had an adult game night. And I was doing laundry. I went to put my clothes in the washer. And while I was there, I said, I'll just go in and see what they're doing before I go back to the room. And there were a lot of people down. They were drinking. They were jumping up and down. I saw, they in here lit up. So I go in there, I sit down for a bit, and I heard the host say, all right. When I walked in, the guy said, no cell phones. Turn your phone off. There would be no videoing. there will be no picture taking. Please shut your phone off. The lady came back and reiterated. The host said, if we catch you with your phones, you will confiscate your phone, delete all material that you recorded or took pictures here, and then you'll be asked to leave. So I said, oh yeah, something going on in here. So they had something called, I don't know if you know, Dr. Nkumbe, it's called the Pineapple Connection. What the fuck? So I said, what's going on? So the lady said, Mr. Bennett, hey, I need a married couple to come out here to the floor. There were 2 married couples ran out to the floor. She said, show me you guys' favorite sexual move, your favorite sexual position. So they started showing the motions of what they do in bed. When it got freaky and where I left and ran back to my room, it's when she said, she told the white guy, come here. You're married to this woman, right? She said, yeah. He said, yeah. She said, I need a young black woman that's married. Come here. She said, now show him a position he can do with his wife tonight. Go. Now, this black woman walks over, ring on her finger. I'm looking right at her, and she pushes this man back in the chair, just straddles him, and just stroking him in the chair. Everybody in there just cheering and yelling and jumping up and down. I said, oh, this is some freaky shit. I said, I gotta go. So after it was over, I found out the next day that the people start hanging pineapples on their door, like these little stuffed animal pineapple things or whatever. I did not know that was for swingers. Did you know that, Dr. Nkumbe?
Like the headband on the door to your roommate.
I had not damn clue. So the whole time I'm walking on the other side of the damn place, the resort, I see damn pineapples hanging on the damn doors. And the doors are cracked.
I want me some glory hole.
I said, so Mr. Bennett, that during the day, they were wild. During the night, they were much wilder. And so, yes, you were correct, sir. I didn't say you were lying. I just had to experience that for myself. You are correct. When you came back with your story, I agree with you. Jamaica is not a place for girls trips. Just don't let your wife go to Jamaica. All right. The men out there rubbing the wives' asses with mud and just grabbing them cheeks and squeezing them cheeks on the bamboo right. Hell no. Just don't let them go. Cause them Jamaica don't do it. All right, but that's all I have. I just wanted to put that out there. Because Mr. Bennett went to Jamaica with his story. I had to tell by it. But yeah, so thank you guys. I appreciate you. Tuesday, over sexualizing children. Wednesday, sports show, of course. Mandrell and Shushu will be back from vacation, so get ready for Unapologetic. They will be back on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thursday, we'll have the great Dr. Nkumbe and Coach K working on your mind again. And then on Friday, we'll be right back in this barbershop to have some more conversations. So, guys, I want to keep you guys close. So I'll be sending all you guys here tonight the link for next week as well. All right. All right. Thank you guys so much. Y'all be good. I hope y'all teams win this weekend. Because, you know, the Steelers, don't talk, Mr. Bennett. Don't worry about it. Detroit they're doing a magnificent job. Saints lost a heartbreaker. I was in here throwing stuff at the TV. Couldn't believe how they blew a 17-point lead in one quarter. And so that pissed me off. The Cowboys, I lost in translation.
Shame.
Cowboys, the Cardinals came to town and beat the brakes off that ass.
Shame.
And I enjoyed Mr. Bennett. I enjoyed every minute of it because everybody kept riding them. Oh, they got the best defense in America. Yeah, okay. The Cardinals came in with a rookie quarterback, a rookie head coach, and an 0-2 record and beat the brakes off the Cowboys.
Excuse me. Hey, do you think that was respectful of the Miami coach just running up the score like that? I mean, 70 points. Come on.
You play till you stop me, man. Play till you stop.
Now, now, you know what? I respect. I'm not gonna say go that far. He almost got the record. 72 points in a game is a record.
Oh yeah.
So he could have. So he could have gone for the record.
Yeah, he didn't go for it. No, he didn't go for it.
He did not go for it. He pulled back.
Okay.
So I think they could have got the record though.
I didn't think that was possible in the modern era because all those records were set back like in the 40s or 50s or something like that.
Yeah.
When you had like 8 teams in the NFL. I didn't think that was even possible in this era. I mean, I know you had some blowout Super Bowl, the minimum Super Bowls in the 90s and whatnot. Teams was like it was over by halftime, but this was next level.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they were playing a high school team.
Whoever bought them the Denver, I was like, look, I want a refund.
Yep.
That's
yep.
$6 billion. I want my $6 billion back.
And they say the Miami is the fastest team in the NFL as far as 40-yard dashes, and they're the fastest team in the NFL. And I think they're going to do something this year. But anyway, shout out to AFT in the back. Thank you, Alexis from Texas. You did an amazing job tonight in the back. So I want to give her flowers as well. Black David went on a bikini. He's in a bikini contest tonight. He's modeling bikinis for men.
City boy.
Yeah. And they're calling Black David the Black Speaker, and so he's out there on the runway. So shout out to Black David. Hope he gets everything he wants from that. All right. So y'all have a great evening, and we'll see you guys on next week. Black David. Oh, he wants to say something real quick. All right. That was Black David. He really wanted to reach out to us. All right, you guys. You guys have a good night. Peace.